Have you ever stood before an ancient stone and wondered if human hands alone could have placed it there? Across the world lie megalithic structures so vast, so precise, and so enduring that they challenge everything we think we know about the past. Towering blocks weighing hundreds of tons, aligned with cosmic patterns, cut with an accuracy that rivals modern machines, yet built thousands of years ago. Who designed them? How were they constructed? And why do they still defy our best explanations today? These are not just ruins. They are enigmas carved in stone. So sit back, open your mind, and let's journey into the impossible world of megalithic mysteries. High above the city of Cusco, nestled on the slopes of the Andean highlands, lies a site that at first glance seems like little more than an unusual formation of weathered limestone. Yet, those who pause and walk among its passages soon discover that this is no accident of nature. This is Qenqo, one of the most intriguing and enigmatic sanctuaries left behind by the Inca civilization. The very name, Qenqo, is derived from the Quechua word for labyrinth, or zigzag. And indeed, the site lives up to that name. A series of carved channels run across the surface of the great outcrop, winding like serpents etched into stone. Beneath, a network of underground chambers opens into cool, shadowed spaces, where the air is heavy with silence and mystery. Historians believe that Qenqo was a ceremonial center, possibly used for rituals connected to agriculture, astronomy, or the veneration of deities. One of its most striking features is a great circular amphitheater carved into the bedrock, lined with stone seats that may have once held priests, nobles, or witnesses to sacred rites. At the heart of the sanctuary lies a large monolith, its surface incised with channels and grooves. Some archaeologists suggest these channels were used for libations, liquids, perhaps chicha beer or sacrificial blood, poured to flow across the stone in ritual ceremonies. But as with so many megalithic sites in the Andes, the official explanations raise as many questions as they answer. When you step into the subterranean chamber beneath Qenqo, you are greeted with perfectly smoothed walls and an altar-like block of stone, seemingly carved from a single massive slab. The chamber is cold and dim, illuminated only by narrow openings that allow beams of sunlight to strike with surprising precision at certain times of year. Was this intentional? Was this chamber designed as an astronomical observatory, a calendar marked not in ink, but in light and shadow? Mainstream scholars emphasize the Inca mastery of stonework and their deep connection to the cycles of nature. They see Qenqo as a site devoted to fertility rituals, perhaps dedicated to Pachamama, the Earth Mother, or to the veneration of the dead. Indeed, some believe the subterranean chamber was used in funerary rites, where bodies of the elite were prepared for mummification and honored with offerings. Yet for others, the story does not end there. The sheer scale and complexity of Qenqo raises questions that still puzzle researchers. The precision of the cuts, the massive size of the monolithic blocks, and the apparent astronomical alignments echo patterns seen at other enigmatic Andean sites, Sacsayhuaman, Ollantaytambo, and further afield, the mysterious structures at Pumapunku. Could Qenqo belong to a far older stratum of Andean history, predating even the Inca, a legacy of a forgotten civilization whose techniques have been lost to time? Some alternative researchers propose that the zigzag channels were not simply for libations, but had symbolic or even technological significance, representing serpents, lightning, or the flow of cosmic energy. Others point to the subterranean passages and speculate about their possible role in sound resonance, suggesting that chants or instruments played within the chamber could have produced powerful acoustic effects, heightening the spiritual experience. And then there are the most fringe ideas, that Qenqo, like other Andean sites, preserves evidence of advanced knowledge, whether of engineering, astronomy, or even forces we do not yet understand. Could these precise cuts and alignments have been achieved with tools beyond those we attribute to the Incas? Were they markers not only of ritual, but of an understanding of the earth and cosmos that has been largely forgotten? Standing inside Qenqo today, one cannot help but feel a sense of timelessness. The cool stone walls close in, while shafts of sunlight pierce the darkness like deliberate strokes of design. The zigzag channels above remain silent, their purpose a matter of speculation. Was this truly just a place of ritual sacrifice, as some suggest? Or was it a site of initiation, a cosmic theater where earth and sky were brought together in stone? No definitive answer exists. Archaeology provides us with fragments, bones, pottery shards, traces of pigments. But the lived reality of Qenqo's ceremonies, the voices, the movements, the emotions of those who gathered here, remains out of reach. Perhaps that is part of its enduring power. For Qenqo is more than a ruin. It is a riddle, a reminder that the past is not a closed book, but an open question. Its channels continue to wind across the stone like veins, inviting us to follow their paths into the unknown. Its shadows whisper of rites we cannot fully reconstruct. Its very silence challenges us. How much do we truly understand of those who came before us? Even now, centuries later, Qenqo resists a simple explanation. It waits in quiet defiance, its secrets locked in stone, urging us to wonder what truths might still lie hidden, just beyond our reach. From the high Andes, where shadow and stone entwine at Qenqo, our journey now carries us across an ocean, to the rolling plains of southern Spain. Here, in the province of Huelva, an ancient monument lies hidden beneath a mound of earth. To the untrained eye, it appears as a simple hill, unremarkable amid the landscape. Yet within, carved and assembled with astonishing purpose, is one of Europe's most enigmatic megalithic tombs, the Dolmen de Soto. Discovered in the early 20th century, this dolmen stretches over 20 meters in length. A long, narrow corridor leads deep into a circular chamber, both formed by massive stone slabs set upright and capped with equally immense horizontal blocks. When reconstructed, the structure revealed a precision and intentionality that seemed far beyond mere shelter. It was a place built not just to house the dead, but to create an experience for those who entered, and perhaps for the spirits that lingered there. Step inside, and the air changes. The passage narrows, pressing in on both sides with walls of stone. Light dwindles as you walk deeper, until only faint glimmers from the entrance remain. At the far end, the chamber opens up, but even here, darkness reigns. It is easy to imagine torches flickering, casting shadows that danced across the engraved symbols etched into the stones. These engravings are among the most striking features of the Dolmen de Soto. Carvings of daggers, axes, and human silhouettes adorn the passage walls, their outlines simple yet unmistakable. Who were these figures meant to represent? Ancestors? Deities? Or perhaps guardians meant to accompany the dead? Archaeologists tell us that the dolmen was used as a collective tomb for centuries, possibly millennia. Layers of human remains were found within, evidence of repeated burials and ongoing ritual use. The structure itself aligns in a curious direction. The entrance points roughly toward the east, where the sun rises. Some researchers believe this orientation was intentional, a way of connecting the world of the living with cycles of light and rebirth. On certain mornings, rays of sunlight would have pierced the corridor, illuminating its depths in a brief but powerful moment of brilliance. Was this a symbolic journey for the souls of the departed, moving from darkness into light? Mainstream archaeology presents Dolmen de Soto as a remarkable example of Neolithic funerary architecture. It tells us about communities who lived more than 4,500 years ago, about their skill in moving and shaping massive stones, about their reverence for the dead and their fascination with the sky. This explanation is compelling, and yet, questions remain. How were these colossal slabs moved and placed with such accuracy? With only primitive tools, how did they cut, transport, and align stones weighing several tons? Why invest such extraordinary effort in building a structure hidden beneath the earth, its grandeur concealed from view? And what significance lies in the weapons carved on its walls? Were they symbolic offerings, reminders of power, or messages we can no longer decipher? For some, the dolmen is more than a tomb. Alternative researchers have suggested that structures like Dolmen de Soto may have functioned as places of initiation, or even as resonant chambers designed to alter consciousness. The long stone passage amplifies sound in strange ways. A single voice can echo with a haunting resonance, filling the darkness with vibrations. Could rituals here have used sound as a tool to connect participants with the spiritual world? Others have noted that the carvings of daggers and axes resemble later Bronze Age weaponry, raising the possibility that the dolmen's significance endured and evolved across generations. Was Dolmen de Soto simply repurposed by later peoples, or does this suggest a continuity of sacred tradition stretching across millennia? There are even more speculative ideas. Some have proposed that the dolmen's precise alignment hints at astronomical knowledge, its builders marking solstices, equinoxes, or the rising of specific stars. Was it merely a tomb, or was it also a calendar in stone, a cosmic observatory that tied the fate of the dead to the eternal rhythms of the heavens? Walking through the passage today, one feels the weight of time pressing in as tangibly as the stones themselves. Each carved line, each slab set into place, whispers of a culture whose worldview was at once practical and profoundly spiritual. They knew how to move stone, yes, but they also sought to move meaning, to shape how the living encountered death and how the dead journeyed into eternity. And yet, the full story eludes us. Why here, on these plains of Spain, was such a monumental effort undertaken? What beliefs demanded such devotion, such precision? Who were the figures whose silhouettes still gaze silently from the stone walls? The Dolmen de Soto remains, as so many megalithic sites do, both deeply familiar and entirely alien. Familiar because it reminds us of burial, of memory, of honoring those who came before. Alien because its language, the true significance of its engravings, its alignments, its echoes, has slipped from our grasp. Perhaps the builders intended it this way. Perhaps they meant for the dolmen to outlast not only their lives, but their stories, leaving behind a riddle for those who would come centuries later. Or perhaps we are simply missing pieces of a puzzle too vast to reconstruct. As the corridor fades again into silence, we are left to wonder, what else lies buried beneath the gentle hills of Spain, waiting to be uncovered? How many more voices of stone remain unheard, their meaning still hidden in the earth? From the dark passageways of Dolmen de Soto, where carved figures still whisper through time, we now shift eastward, across the Mediterranean, to a windswept plateau in the heart of the Levant. Here, on the basalt-strewn fields of the Golan Heights, lies one of the most perplexing and little-understood megalithic monuments in the ancient world. Known locally as Rujm el-Hiri, the Mound of the Wild Cat, and in biblical tradition as Gilgal Rephaim, the Wheel of Giants, this immense stone structure defies easy explanation. At first sight, Rujm el-Hiri appears as a vast tangle of boulders spread across the barren ground. But step back, or better, rise above, and a breathtaking design emerges. Concentric circles of massive basalt rocks ripple outward like rings in water, encircling a central mound at the heart of the site. The structure is enormous. The outermost ring spans more than 150 meters in diameter, built from tens of thousands of stones, some weighing several tons each. The scale is staggering, especially considering that the monument dates back at least 5,000 years, perhaps older. To walk its circles is to feel both awe and confusion. The walls rise only a few feet high today, eroded and weathered by millennia. Yet their sheer extent, their deliberate placement, suggests a purpose far greater than the effort of piling stones. At the center, a massive cairn or tumulus looms, thought to be a burial chamber. But when excavated, no body was found. Only more questions. Was it robbed in antiquity? Or was its purpose never funerary at all? Mainstream archaeology cautiously places Rujm el-Hiri within the Chalcolithic or Early Bronze Age, built by the region's early pastoral societies. According to this view, it may have been a ceremonial site, a place of gathering, or a burial monument for a powerful leader whose remains have long since vanished. The concentric circles, some suggest, might represent cosmic or spiritual symbolism, a wheel of life and death, a bridge between the earthly and the divine. But not all interpretations are so straightforward. One of the most curious aspects of Rujm el-Hiri is its alignment. Several of the stone passageways appear to line up with the solstices and equinoxes. On the longest day of the year, the summer sun rises directly above a specific opening in the outer wall. Could the monument have served as a giant calendar, tracking the movements of the heavens? If so, its builders possessed a level of astronomical knowledge that is rarely attributed to societies of its time. Then there is the question of effort. To move and arrange tens of thousands of basalt boulders on a windswept plateau, without metal tools, without draft animals, would have required not only incredible manpower, but also an unshakable purpose. What belief, what need, justified such monumental labor in a region where survival itself was often precarious? Some scholars see echoes of Mesopotamian cosmology in the site's design, pointing to the wheel motif as symbolic of divine order. Others have linked the structure to biblical traditions, interpreting Gilgal Rephaim as a remnant of the giants, the Rephaim, described in ancient texts. Could the name itself preserve a memory, however distorted, of a time when the monument was already shrouded in myth? And then there are those who go further still. Fringe theories propose that Rujm el-Hiri is far older than the Bronze Age, a relic of a lost civilization whose knowledge exceeded that of the cultures we recognize. Some point to the sheer size and arrangement of the stones, suggesting acoustic or energetic properties, or even speculating about connections to other megalithic sites across the globe. These ideas remain controversial, yet they persist, fueled by the silence of the stones themselves. Standing at the heart of Rujm el-Hiri, it is not hard to understand why. The place is overwhelming in its desolation. The black basalt absorbs the sun's heat by day and radiates it back into the air by night. Winds sweep across the plateau, whispering through the low walls. In the stillness, the rings of stone seem to spiral endlessly, as if marking not just space, but time itself. What did the builders see here? What compelled them to lay down circle after circle, enclosing a mound whose true function remains elusive? Was it a tomb, a temple, a calendar, or something we lack the language even to describe? Archaeology offers fragments, pottery shards, scattered tools, faint traces of human activity. But no clear narrative has emerged. The monument sits between categories, part burial mound, part sanctuary, part cosmic wheel. Its true nature is hidden, its meaning layered, like the circles of stone themselves. And perhaps that is why Rujm el-Hiri continues to fascinate. It stands as a reminder that the land we call ancient still holds secrets untouched by certainty. It invites us to walk its circles, to trace the paths of those who came before, and to ask the questions they left unanswered. For in the heart of Palestine's Golan Plateau lies a riddle written in stone, one that has endured for thousands of years, resisting every attempt to pin it down. Perhaps it was meant to. Perhaps the Wheel of Giants is less a monument to the past and more a challenge to the present. To remember that even in an age of knowledge, some mysteries are meant to remain just beyond our grasp. From the soaring peaks of the Andes, where the Temple of the Three Windows frames sunlight with precise elegance, we journey eastward across the vastness of the Pacific to the tropical heart of central Sulawesi, Indonesia. Here, hidden among lush forests and rugged hills, lies a landscape that time seems to have forgotten. The Bada megaliths, enigmatic stone structures whose origins, purpose, and meaning continue to elude historians and archaeologists alike. The first encounter with Bada is both awe-inspiring and disorienting. Spread across highland valleys, enormous stone monoliths rise from the earth, some carved into rough statues, others shaped into upright slabs, their surfaces weathered and darkened by centuries of rain and sun. Unlike more familiar megalithic sites, these stones are scattered irregularly across the terrain, yet each seems deliberately placed, as though part of a larger design now obscured by vegetation and the passage of time. Walking among them, one feels both the presence of human hands and the lingering weight of mystery. Dating the Bada megaliths has proven challenging. Carbon dating of nearby habitation sites suggests that the stones may have been erected as early as 2000 BCE, perhaps even earlier. Mainstream archaeology often categorizes them as ritual or funerary monuments, likely linked to the ancestral worship practices of the highland communities. Yet their sheer size, irregular forms, and occasional arrangement into circles or rows hint at functions beyond simple memorials. Could these stones have served as markers of territorial boundaries, celestial observatories, or sites for complex rituals that we no longer understand? The craftsmanship of the Bada stones is striking. Many monoliths are carved with anthropomorphic figures, stylized faces, or abstract patterns that evoke both the human form and symbolic abstraction. Some resemble seated figures, their stances suggesting authority or guardianship. Others feature geometric incisions, whose purpose remains a puzzle. Are they mere decoration, symbolic language, or markers of astronomical events? The precision with which these stones were quarried, shaped, and erected is remarkable, especially given the lack of metal tools or machinery in the period of their construction. Each stone seems to carry an intentionality, a silent narrative waiting to be read by those who approach with patience and attention. The arrangement of the megaliths adds another layer of intrigue. In certain valleys, stones appear in linear alignments or semicircular groupings, hinting at an understanding of spatial organization or cosmology. Some researchers have proposed that these groupings correspond to solstices, equinoxes, or other celestial phenomena, though confirming such alignments is difficult in the dense tropical environment. Could the Bada people have tracked the movements of the sun, moon, or stars with such precision? If so, what knowledge guided their observations, and how was it preserved across generations? Local legends imbue the stones with a sense of sacredness. According to oral histories, the Bada megaliths were erected by ancient ancestors whose knowledge of the world surpassed that of ordinary humans. Some myths speak of giants or supernatural beings shaping the stones, while others claim that the stones themselves hold spiritual energy, capable of influencing the living. These stories, passed down for centuries, have become intertwined with the scientific study of the site, creating a dialogue between archaeology and folklore that enriches but also complicates our understanding. The environment surrounding Bada amplifies its enigmatic aura. Mist often rises from the valleys at dawn, enveloping the stones in a veil of mystery. Sunlight filters through the forest canopy, casting shifting shadows that animate the monoliths as if they were moving silently in a ritual dance. The interplay of light, shadow, and stone transforms the landscape into a liminal space, one where past and present converge, and where human perception is constantly challenged. Walking among these monoliths, it is easy to imagine ceremonies, gatherings, or rites that have long since vanished, leaving only the silent guardians of stone behind. The practical challenges faced by the builders also deepen the mystery. Many of the largest stones weigh several tons and are located on uneven terrain, far from any quarries. Transporting and erecting such masses would have required ingenuity, organization, and labor far beyond what one might expect from a small prehistoric community. How did these early societies achieve such feats? Were their techniques now lost to history, or does the monumentality reflect the extraordinary social or spiritual motivation of the builders? Some scholars have suggested that Bada was part of a broader tradition of megalithic construction across Indonesia, connecting it conceptually or culturally with sites like the nearby Lor Lindu megaliths. This raises tantalizing questions about the spread of architectural knowledge and ritual practice in prehistoric Southeast Asia. Did these highland communities share a common cosmology, a symbolic language of stone, or a practical tradition of monument building? Or did each site develop independently, yet with a convergent vision of human and cosmic order? The ambiguity of purpose is perhaps the most compelling aspect of Bada. Unlike burial sites with extensive remains or urban complexes with clear domestic features, the stones here speak primarily through their form and placement. They invite speculation and reflection rather than offering concrete answers. Was Bada a necropolis, a temple, a calendar, or a gathering place for social and spiritual events? The evidence is tantalizing but incomplete, leaving the site perpetually poised between known history and the imagination. Even today, Bada continues to challenge visitors. The sheer scale and isolation of the stones create a sense of timelessness. The wind whistles through the gaps, carrying the scent of moss and earth. Shadows shift with the sun, revealing shapes that seem alive, as if the stones themselves are witnesses to rituals that cannot be reconstructed. Standing among the monoliths, one cannot help but feel a mixture of awe, reverence, and humility before the unknown. The Bada megaliths endure as both physical monuments and enigmas, reminding us that the past was far more sophisticated and mysterious than our contemporary assumptions might suggest. They speak of human ingenuity, ritual devotion, and a desire to connect with forces beyond the visible world. And they leave us with an enduring question. What knowledge, what beliefs, and what ceremonies guided the hands that shaped these silent giants, and how much of that understanding remains forever hidden within the stones themselves? From the dense forests and misty highlands of Sulawesi, where the Bada megaliths rise in solemn mystery, our journey now takes us northeast across the seas to the island nation of Japan. Here, in the quiet hills of Asuka, Nara Prefecture, lies Ishibutai Kofun, a monumental stone tomb whose very name, Stone Stage Tomb, hints at both human ingenuity and enduring enigma. Approaching Ishibutai Kofun, one is immediately struck by its scale and precision. The tomb consists of enormous megalithic stones, some weighing upwards of 75 tons, carefully fitted together to form a chamber large enough to accommodate multiple human bodies. Unlike many of the surrounding earthen mounds typical of Kofun-era burial sites, Ishibutai's massive stone construction dominates the landscape, a silent sentinel amid gently rolling hills and rice paddies that stretch toward distant mountains. Mainstream scholarship attributes the tomb to the late Asuka period, around the 7th century CE, and associates it with Soga no Umako, a powerful figure in the Yamato court. The Kofun period, extending from roughly 250 to 538 CE, saw the emergence of elite burial mounds across Japan, yet Ishibutai stands apart. Its scale, precision, and exposed stone architecture suggest extraordinary effort and technical knowledge. How were these massive stones quarried, transported, and lifted into place with the limited technology of the time? Walking among the tomb's imposing slabs, one is struck by the precision of their placement. The roof stones, weighing dozens of tons, rest atop vertical walls with minimal gaps, forming a chamber that has withstood centuries of earthquakes, typhoons, and human activity. The alignment of the stones appears deliberate, their flat surfaces carefully leveled and fitted. Could this architectural exactness reflect more than practical construction? Might the tomb encode symbolic or cosmological knowledge, a message intended to endure beyond the lives of those buried within? The tomb's interior is equally compelling. Entering the chamber, visitors feel an almost tangible weight, not merely from the stones themselves, but from the centuries of human attention and reverence. The acoustics amplify even the quietest sound, lending a sense of gravity and ceremony to the space. Scholars have noted that the tomb's orientation roughly aligns with certain celestial phenomena, perhaps marking seasonal transitions or serving as a ritual focus for the Yamato elite. Were these alignments intentional, a reflection of the society's astronomical understanding, or coincidental, a byproduct of construction constraints? Ishibutai Kofun also evokes questions about social organization. To move and position stones of this magnitude would have required careful planning, immense manpower, and sophisticated knowledge of leverage and transport. The Yamato court may have marshaled labor from surrounding villages, yet even so, the tomb's construction represents a feat that seems almost impossible for its time. What motivated such monumental effort? Was it purely a demonstration of political power, a ritual necessity, or a combination of both, entwined with spiritual beliefs that we can no longer fully comprehend? The cultural context adds another layer of mystery. The tomb exists within a landscape dotted with other Kofun, burial mounds, and ritual sites, yet Ishibutai's exposed stone structure sets it apart. Local legends imbue the tomb with supernatural associations, speaking of spirits, ancestral guardians, and echoes of Yamato authority. While folklore cannot confirm historical fact, it preserves the sense that Ishibutai was more than a mere burial site. It was a locus of spiritual and social power, a physical manifestation of both memory and myth. Comparisons with other megalithic sites around the world are tempting yet inconclusive. Like the Bada megaliths, Rujm el-Hiri, or the temples of Malta, Ishibutai challenges assumptions about what pre-modern societies could achieve with limited technology. The convergence of massive scale, precise construction, and possible ritual significance raises fundamental questions. Were these tombs merely memorials, or did they serve as conduits between the earthly and the divine? Could knowledge of construction and cosmic alignment have been transmitted across generations in ways that modern scholarship only partially understands? The tomb's very silence intensifies its mystery. No inscriptions remain, no detailed records explain the choices of stone, placement, or alignment. Only the stones themselves speak, through their weight, precision, and endurance. Visitors often report a profound sense of stillness within the chamber, as if the past has not merely been preserved but is actively present. This silence encourages reflection, inviting observers to imagine the hands, minds, and beliefs that shaped the monument over a millennium ago. Even today, Ishibutai Kofun continues to defy simple categorization. It is at once tomb, monument, and architectural marvel. Its scale and precision inspire awe, Its location and orientation provoke questions about ritual and astronomy. Its enduring presence challenges our understanding of ancient societies. And yet, despite centuries of study, many mysteries remain. Was it constructed solely to honor Soga no Umako, or did it hold deeper ceremonial or cosmological significance? Were there other, now lost structures in the vicinity that completed its intended purpose? And what knowledge, once common to its builders, has been lost to time? Standing amid Ishibutai's massive stones, one cannot help but feel a connection across centuries. The tomb's enormity, craftsmanship, and quiet authority remind us that prehistoric and early historic societies possessed both technical skill and profound vision. It asks us to consider the lengths humans will go to honor the dead, to communicate with the divine, and to leave a legacy that endures far beyond a single lifetime. Perhaps this is the enduring power of Ishibutai Kofun. It is not merely a monument of stone, but a silent question posed to the present. How much did its builders understand about architecture, astronomy, and society, and how much of that knowledge remains hidden within these ancient stones, waiting for those patient enough to listen? From the quiet hills of Asuka, where Ishibutai Kofun rises as a testament to human ingenuity and spiritual devotion, we now traverse continents to the timeless Nile Valley, where ancient Egypt reveals one of its most enigmatic monuments, the Temple of Hathor at Dendera. Nestled on the west bank of the Nile, the temple complex commands both awe and intrigue, its polished sandstone walls and towering columns filled with reliefs that have fascinated travelers and scholars for centuries. The first encounter with Dendera is striking. The temple's massive pylons soar skyward, intricately carved with scenes of gods, pharaohs, and celestial phenomena. Entering the hypostyle hall, one is immediately enveloped by the enormity of the space. 96 columns, each adorned with the face of Hathor, the cow-headed goddess of love, music, and cosmic harmony, rise in perfect alignment, their capitals resembling lotus and papyrus blossoms. Sunlight filters through narrow clerestory windows, illuminating hieroglyphs and reliefs that seem to shimmer with a life of their own. Mainstream Egyptology places the construction of this temple during the Ptolemaic period, around 54 BCE, with additions and renovations extending into the Roman era. It is commonly viewed as a center of religious worship, ritual performance, and astronomical observation. The temple was aligned with celestial events, and some scholars suggest its design may have incorporated knowledge of the movements of the planets, stars, and even the heliacal rising of Sirius. Could the architects have encoded astronomical precision into stone, allowing the heavens themselves to dictate the rhythms of ritual and agriculture? The ceiling of the temple offers one of its most mysterious features. Painted with star maps, constellations, and celestial deities, the roof evokes a cosmic theater suspended above the worshippers. Among these depictions is the famous Dendera light, a relief that some fringe theorists interpret as a depiction of electrical illumination or advanced technology, while mainstream archaeology explains it as a symbolic lotus bulb motif. The sheer imagination and sophistication of the artwork invite speculation. Were these carvings purely symbolic, or could they encode knowledge of phenomena we only partially understand today? The precision of the temple's construction is staggering. Massive sandstone blocks were quarried and transported from distant sites, meticulously cut and aligned to withstand centuries of environmental challenges, from Nile floods to seismic tremors. The reliefs and hieroglyphs, carved with extraordinary skill, preserve both ritual knowledge and cultural memory. Yet, despite these achievements, many details remain unexplained. Some reliefs depict figures and instruments whose purpose is unclear. Others show symbolic representations that do not correspond to known rituals or astronomical models. Walking through the temple, one senses that it was not merely a site for worship, but also a repository of knowledge. Hathor, as goddess of cosmic harmony, suggests a philosophy that blends human life with the rhythms of the universe. Did the priests of Dendera possess advanced astronomical understanding? Were the temple's alignments designed to track solstices, equinoxes, or even planetary movements unknown to later observers? The evidence hints at sophistication that continues to surprise modern scholars. The temple also raises questions about the interplay of ritual, architecture, and memory. Hathor was associated with fertility, music, and cosmic balance, yet the scale and precision of her temple suggest an extraordinary investment of labor and resources. How did the Egyptians organize the workforce, engineers, and artisans necessary to realize such a monumental vision? Could the effort itself have been a form of devotion, a ritual enacted through construction as much as through worship? Moreover, some of the carvings depict what appear to be vessels, tubes, or strange objects whose practical or symbolic functions remain debated. Fringe interpretations suggest that Dendera might encode advanced technologies or lost knowledge. While these theories remain speculative, they underscore the temple's capacity to provoke wonder and challenge assumptions about ancient civilizations. Its very walls seem to ask questions rather than provide answers. The temple's context within the broader landscape adds another layer of mystery. Situated near the Nile, surrounded by fertile fields and linked to sacred geography, Dendera was both a spiritual and practical center. Water, astronomy, ritual, and memory intersected here, creating a space where human experience was aligned with cosmic order. Could the temple have served as a calendar, a ceremonial hub, or a repository of esoteric knowledge? Or perhaps all three at once? Today, Dendera's stone corridors remain silent, yet they speak through shadows, carvings, and spatial harmony. The light shifts over the course of the day, illuminating scenes that might have guided ancient priests in rituals aligned with the heavens. The carvings, the columns, the celestial depictions. They endure not only as art, but as questions carved into stone. Standing within the Temple of Hathor, it is impossible not to sense a dialogue between the past and the present. The monumental scale, artistic mastery, and celestial integration suggest knowledge and intention that transcend mere utility. What secrets did the priests of Dendera understand about the cosmos, and what meanings were encoded in these carvings that modern scholarship has yet to fully interpret? How much of this knowledge has been lost, and how much endures, quietly waiting for those willing to observe, reflect, and wonder? The Temple of Hathor remains an enduring testament to human aspiration, skill, and the desire to bridge the earthly and the divine. It challenges us to consider the sophistication of ancient civilizations and to respect the mysteries that remain, carved into stone and illuminated by the cycles of the sun and stars. Even after millennia, Dendera whispers its questions, inviting those who enter to contemplate not only what was known, but also what might still be waiting to be discovered. From the windswept basalt plains of the Levant, where the enigmatic circles of Rujm el-Hiri stretch endlessly beneath the sun, we now ascend across continents and oceans to the mist-shrouded heights of the Andes. Here, perched upon a dramatic ridge between steep valleys and jagged peaks, lies Machu Picchu, a city of stone that has fascinated explorers, historians, and travelers for over a century. Among its many extraordinary structures, the Temple of the Three Windows stands as a pinnacle of architectural mastery and mysterious purpose. Approaching the temple, one is immediately struck by its precision. The structure, built from massive granite blocks carefully cut and fitted without mortar, seems to emerge organically from the mountain itself. Three enormous trapezoidal windows dominate its eastern wall, each perfectly aligned and evenly spaced, catching the morning sun as it rises above the surrounding peaks. Through these openings, the valley below is framed as if the temple itself is a lens, guiding the gaze toward distant horizons and celestial events. Archaeologists identify the Temple of the Three Windows as part of Machu Picchu's religious and ceremonial sector, yet its specific function remains speculative. Some suggest it was a sanctuary for the Inca sun god, Inti, or a place where rulers and priests conducted sacred rituals to harmonize human life with the cosmos. The alignment of the windows toward prominent peaks and the solstitial sun hints at a sophisticated understanding of astronomy, implying that the temple may have been a calendar or observatory of sorts. How did the Inca achieve such precision, carving immense stones to fit seamlessly together and aligning their creation with the celestial cycles? The scale of the construction is staggering. The walls are composed of stones weighing several tons each, quarried from sites miles away and transported across precipitous terrain. There are no records of cranes, pulleys, or wheels, yet the Inca achieved what seems almost impossible. Perfectly leveled terraces, finely joined stonework, and structures that have endured centuries of seismic activity and weathering. The Temple of the Three Windows exemplifies this mastery. Its blocks are shaped and fitted so tightly that even a blade of grass cannot slip between them, a technique that modern engineers continue to marvel at. Inside the temple, the three windows cast dramatic shafts of light across the polished stone floor. Observing them at sunrise, one senses a deliberate choreography of shadow and illumination. Could these windows have been used to track the seasons, mark sacred days, or signal agricultural cycles in the valleys below? The evidence suggests that the temple was not merely symbolic, but functional, integrating spiritual significance with practical application in a society deeply attuned to the rhythms of nature. Yet many mysteries remain. The temple's construction raises questions about the knowledge and organization required to create such precision. Did the builders possess a codified understanding of geometry, astronomy, or physics that has since been lost? Some fringe theories propose that Machu Picchu may have been more than a city. It could have served as a hub of energy, spiritual learning, or even advanced engineering, preserved within its stone architecture. While such ideas remain speculative, they underscore the enduring sense of awe the site inspires. The location itself adds to the intrigue. Machu Picchu sits at nearly 2,400 meters above sea level, a place both defensible and visually commanding. The Temple of the Three Windows faces the rising sun over Huayna Picchu, the sacred peak that dominates the skyline. From this vantage, the Inca could observe not only celestial patterns, but also the surrounding rivers and valleys, integrating geography, astronomy, and ritual. This interweaving of landscape and architecture suggests a worldview in which humans, gods, and nature were inseparably linked. Artifacts found nearby, including pottery, ceremonial objects, and offerings, hint at ritual activity but provide no definitive explanation for the temple's exact role. Unlike burial sites or residential areas, where function can be inferred from debris and layout, ceremonial structures like this speak through their form, orientation, and integration with the landscape. They challenge us to interpret intention through design, to consider what meanings might have been encoded in the choice of stone, the direction of light, or the framing of distant peaks. The three windows themselves are enigmatic. Why three? Why placed precisely as they are? Some researchers suggest the number 3 held symbolic importance in Inca cosmology, representing concepts such as the 3 realms of existence: the upper world, the earthly plane, and the underworld. Others emphasize the practical aspect. The windows may have served as solar observatories or as markers for specific dates critical to agricultural cycles. the truth may lie in a combination of symbolism, utility, and ceremonial significance, a deliberate fusion of multiple purposes. Walking through the temple today, one is struck by the sense of permanence and presence. The walls, despite centuries of erosion, retain their clarity. The windows frame the light, the mountains, the sky, creating a moment where human craftsmanship and natural majesty converge. It is easy to imagine priests or rulers standing in the same space, observing the sun's movement, performing rituals, or contemplating the harmony of the universe. What did they understand that we can only glimpse through stone and shadow? Machu Picchu, and the Temple of the Three Windows in particular, challenges assumptions about pre-Columbian societies. It demonstrates that they were not merely practical builders but also profound thinkers, capable of integrating architecture, astronomy, and spiritual life into enduring monuments. The precision, scale, and sophistication of the temple compel reflection on human ingenuity across time, how knowledge, labor, and belief can converge to create something both functional and transcendent. As the sun climbs higher, light floods through the three windows, illuminating the temple floor and casting long shadows across the surrounding terraces. The effect is both dramatic and contemplative, a reminder that these stones were placed with purpose, not randomness. And yet, despite our understanding of Inca culture, much remains unknown. What precise rituals took place here? How did the builders perceive the relationship between sun, stone, and society? What knowledge, spiritual or scientific, was encoded in these walls, waiting for those who could interpret it? The Temple of the Three Windows endures as a testament to the Inca civilization's mastery of both material and celestial realms. It invites reflection on human ambition, ingenuity, and reverence for nature. Standing amid its massive stones, framed by peaks and valleys, one is reminded that some monuments are meant not merely to endure, but to provoke thought, inspire wonder, and whisper questions across centuries. Questions that remain unanswered, waiting for those willing to contemplate their mystery. From the monumental sanctuaries of ancient Egypt, where the Temple of Hathor frames sunlight and cosmos alike, we now cross into the mist-laden landscapes of Ireland, to the rugged limestone hills of County Sligo. Here, atop the elevated ridges of the Brickleaf Mountains, lie the Carrowkeel passage tombs, a collection of Neolithic structures whose origins, purpose, and meaning continue to elude definitive explanation. At first glance, the tombs appear modest, mounds of stone and earth scattered across the hilltops. But as one approaches, the scale and deliberate construction reveal themselves. Each tomb is a carefully shaped cairn, sheltering a passage that leads into a stone chamber, often capped with massive roof slabs weighing several tons. The stones themselves are weathered, their surfaces roughened by millennia of wind, rain, and frost. Yet, the precise placement of these megaliths speaks to intentionality, a vision realized by hands guided as much by ritual as by engineering. Archaeologists date Carrowkeel to around 3,600 to 3,000 BCE, making these tombs among the earliest monumental constructions in Ireland. They belong to a broader tradition of passage tombs spread across the Atlantic seaboard, including sites like Newgrange and Loughcrew. Mainstream interpretations suggest that the tombs served primarily as burial sites for Neolithic communities, with excavations uncovering cremated human remains, pottery fragments, and stone tools. Yet these findings only hint at a deeper, more intricate story. Why place these tombs on exposed ridgelines, far from permanent settlements? What dictated the arrangement of their passages and chambers, and how did the builders transport and lift stones that weigh several tons with only rudimentary tools? The layout of Carrowkeel is particularly intriguing. Many tombs are aligned along ridges and valleys, and some passages appear to correspond to solstitial sunrise or sunset points. Could the builders have been tracking the sun, moon, or stars, embedding astronomical knowledge into their sacred architecture? The alignment might also have served symbolic or ritual purposes, connecting the living with the dead, the earthly plane with the heavens, or the community with ancestral powers. Such considerations suggest that Carrowkeel was as much a spiritual observatory as a burial ground. The interior of the tombs adds another layer of mystery. Entering a passage, one is immediately aware of the interplay between scale, sound, and shadow. The walls of cut stone create an almost tunnel-like effect, while the chambers themselves feel disproportionately spacious, as if designed to evoke awe or to amplify ritual significance. Some researchers have noted acoustic properties within the passageways, hinting that chanting or music may have played a role in ceremonies. Could these tombs have been designed to engage multiple senses, linking the physical, auditory, and spiritual into a single immersive experience? Carrowkeel also raises questions about social organization and technological capability. Transporting and assembling massive stones on uneven terrain would have required coordination, ingenuity, and manpower. What motivated communities to undertake such monumental labor, and what social or spiritual imperatives justified the effort? The tomb's endurance over thousands of years speaks not only to construction skill but also to the importance placed upon these sites by successive generations, suggesting that Carrowkeel was far more than a simple burial ground. The surrounding landscape contributes to the sense of wonder. From the ridgelines, sweeping views extend over the Sligo valleys, hills, and distant lakes. Mist frequently drifts across the terrain, cloaking the tombs in ephemeral veils that shift with the weather and season. The isolation and elevation may have held symbolic meaning, creating liminal spaces where ritual, memory, and observation of the natural world converged. Were these locations chosen for visibility, spiritual potency, or perhaps a combination of both? Local folklore adds another dimension to Carrowkeel's enigma. Legends speak of the Tuatha De Danann, ancient beings with supernatural power inhabiting or guarding these monuments. Folklore, like the stones themselves, endures beyond written history, preserving a sense of reverence and mystery that complements archaeological findings. These stories suggest that the tombs were considered portals between worlds, spaces where the living and the dead, the human and the divine, could intersect. Yet, despite centuries of study, much remains unresolved. How did Neolithic communities acquire the knowledge and techniques to construct these tombs with such precision? Were the alignments purely symbolic, or did they encode practical astronomical knowledge? Did each tomb have a unique purpose, or were they part of a coordinated network of ritual landscapes? The stones themselves remain silent, offering only hints through their placement, alignment, and form. Standing among the Carrowkeel tombs today, one is enveloped by a profound sense of continuity and wonder. The passageways draw the eye inward, the chambers invite contemplation, and the landscape stretches outward into the unknown. Each stone is a witness to human ambition, ritual devotion, and enduring mystery. And as the mist drifts across the ridges and valleys, the tombs seem to whisper across millennia, posing questions that remain unanswered. What inspired these early communities to shape stone into passageways and chambers? What knowledge and beliefs were encoded in these enduring monuments? And what secrets buried in shadow and silence remain to be discovered? From the misty hills of Ireland, where the Carrowkeel Passage tombs rise silently above the valleys, we journey southward along the Nile into the sun-scorched plains of southern Egypt. Here, in the region of Nubia, stand the Abu Simbel temples, colossal monuments carved directly from the living rock, their massive figures casting long shadows across the desert floor. These temples, both architectural marvels and symbolic statements, have captivated scholars and travelers for centuries, yet their full significance remains cloaked in mystery. Approaching Abu Simbel, the first impression is one of overwhelming scale. 4 seated statues of Pharaoh Ramesses II, each towering over 20 meters tall, guard the entrance to the great temple, their faces frozen in eternal authority. Above the entrance, intricate hieroglyphs and smaller reliefs tell stories of conquest, divine favor, and ritual devotion. The facade is more than a display of power. It is a carefully orchestrated message to anyone who dares approach. This is the domain of gods and kings alike, where human ambition and divine sanction converge in stone. The temples are aligned with remarkable precision. Twice a year, sunlight penetrates the inner sanctuary, illuminating the statues of Ra-Harakti, Amun, and Ramesses himself. This phenomenon, which occurs on or near February 22nd and October 22nd, has prompted endless speculation about the Egyptians' understanding of astronomy. Was this alignment intended merely as a demonstration of divine favor, or did it serve a more complex purpose, linking solar cycles to royal ideology or ritual timing? The design seems deliberate, yet the methods by which ancient builders achieved such precision remain largely unknown. Construction alone is astonishing. The temples were carved during the 13th century BCE, an era without modern machinery. Enormous stone blocks, some weighing hundreds of tons, were quarried and sculpted on site with copper tools, levers, and extraordinary manpower. The great temple's inner chambers, passageways, and colossal statues demonstrate not only technical skill, but also an understanding of weight distribution, acoustics, and aesthetics. How did a society, even one as advanced as New Kingdom Egypt, coordinate labor and logistics to achieve this feat in the remote deserts of Nubia? Inside the temple, the air is heavy with history. The sanctuary's walls are adorned with reliefs depicting Ramesses' victories, divine ceremonies, and the pharaoh in communion with gods. Some carvings, however, defy straightforward interpretation. Figures in unusual poses, hieroglyphs that have resisted definitive translation, and depictions of ritual objects whose function remains uncertain hint at layers of meaning beyond military propaganda. Were these spaces designed purely for ceremonial observance, or did they encode esoteric knowledge accessible only to a select priesthood? The temple's relocation in the 1960s adds another layer of intrigue. When the rising waters of the Aswan High Dam threatened to submerge Abu Simbel, engineers cut the complex into massive blocks and reassembled it 65 meters higher on an artificial hill. This monumental modern effort mirrors, in a curious way, the ancient builders' own feats of engineering. Yet even after preservation, the original intent, ritual use, and symbolic resonance of the temples remain partially obscured. What knowledge, beliefs, or practices guided the builders' choices, and what remains hidden behind stone and shadow? Beyond the engineering and artistry, Abu Simbel's setting contributes to its enigmatic aura. The surrounding desert is harsh and silent, a landscape that amplifies the temple's isolation and symbolic potency. Viewed from a distance, the massive statues emerge from the horizon like guardians of an ancient covenant, framing the Nile and its seasonal rhythms. Was this location chosen for strategic, ritual, or astronomical reasons, or some combination of all three? The desert itself becomes part of the narrative, shaping how the temples are experienced and understood. Fringe theories and speculative interpretations abound. Some propose that the temples are aligned with celestial or geomagnetic features unknown to conventional archaeology. Others suggest hidden chambers, encoded maps, or even references to lost technologies. While many of these ideas remain controversial, their persistence underscores the sense of awe and mystery that Abu Simbel inspires. The temples seem designed not only to impress the contemporary eye, but to endure across millennia, posing questions as much as celebrating triumphs. Even today, walking through Abu Simbel is an encounter with scale, intention, and enigma. The colossal statues, the perfectly carved reliefs, and the precise alignments with the sun compel reflection on human ambition, spiritual devotion, and the limits of ancient knowledge. How much of Ramesses' vision has survived intact, and how much has been lost to time, environment, or human intervention? What knowledge guided these constructions, and what might remain hidden in chambers or symbols yet to be deciphered? Abu Simbel endures as both monument and mystery, a testament to human skill, religious devotion, and the desire to align earthly power with cosmic order. Its colossal forms, sunlit sanctuaries, and enduring presence challenge us to consider the sophistication of civilizations long past. And as the desert wind sweeps across the temples, whispering through the monumental figures, it invites a profound question. Even after centuries of admiration and study, how much of their purpose, knowledge, and secret meaning remains beyond our understanding? From the sun-drenched temples of Abu Simbel, where colossal stone figures and solar alignments evoke both awe and mystery, we now sail across the Mediterranean to the island of Sardinia. Here, in the northern plains near Sassari, rises Monte a prehistoric monument whose unique form and enigmatic purpose continue to challenge scholars and visitors alike. Unlike the surrounding landscape, where rolling hills and fertile valleys dominate, Monte asserts itself with striking geometry, a stepped platform reminiscent of Mesopotamian ziggurats, a feature almost unparalleled in Western Europe. The first impression is one of contradiction. From afar, the structure appears simple. A large rectangular platform raised upon a mound of earth and stone. Yet as one approaches, its scale and craftsmanship reveal a deliberate sophistication. Each level is carefully leveled, and the sloped ramps that ascend its terraces suggest not merely practical construction but ceremonial intent. It is a platform, a mound, a stage, its purpose hidden, yet undeniable in its impact on the surrounding landscape. Monte dates back to the late Neolithic, around 4000 to 3500 BCE, making it contemporary with some of the earliest megalithic monuments of the Mediterranean. Mainstream archaeology interprets the site as a ceremonial or religious center, possibly a platform for rituals, offerings, or astronomical observation. Excavations have uncovered altars, ceramic fragments, and evidence of animal sacrifice, indicating that Monte played a central role in the spiritual and communal life of its builders. Yet the extraordinary nature of its design, stepped terraces, raised platform, and unusual orientation, leaves many questions unanswered. The monument's form is its most striking feature. Unlike the rounded tumuli or dolmens common in Sardinia and across Europe, Monte presents sharp geometric lines, terraces, and a prominent ramp leading to the summit. Some researchers have drawn comparisons with ziggurats of Mesopotamia, noting similarities in step-like construction and elevated ceremonial space. Did the builders of Monte possess knowledge of distant architectural traditions, or is the resemblance coincidental, a convergence of human ingenuity responding to spiritual or practical needs? Orientation and astronomical alignments add another layer of intrigue. The ramp and platform appear to align with celestial events, including solstices and equinoxes. Could the monument have functioned as a solar observatory, a calendar, or a site for ritual enactments timed with celestial cycles? The precision of construction, combined with this apparent alignment, suggests a sophisticated understanding of the natural world, encoded in stone long before written records could explain its purpose. Monte also challenges assumptions about Neolithic engineering. Transporting, leveling, and arranging massive stone slabs and earthworks without metal tools or draft animals would have required extraordinary planning, coordination, and labor. What social, religious, or cosmological imperatives justified such monumental effort? Why build a structure so unlike anything else in the region, and why choose this specific site on the Sardinian plain? The answers remain elusive, buried beneath centuries of earth and silence. The surrounding landscape reinforces the monument's enigmatic presence. From the summit, one can see distant hills, rivers, and plains, suggesting that visibility and connection to the environment may have been integral to its function. Was Monte a focal point for gatherings, festivals, or rituals designed to unify communities under a shared spiritual or social vision? Or was it deliberately isolated, its terraces and ramps forming a threshold between the mundane and the sacred? Fringe theories and speculative interpretations abound. Some propose that Monte encodes lost knowledge, perhaps of distant lands or advanced astronomical understanding. Others suggest it may have been a prototype for other step structures, a bold experiment in architectural form whose influence faded into obscurity. While conventional archaeology interprets the site cautiously, the monument's uniqueness ensures that it continues to provoke wonder and speculation. Entering the terraces, walking the ramp, and touching the weathered stone, one senses the deliberate intention behind every decision. This was not merely a pile of earth and rock, but a crafted space designed to impress, inspire, and perhaps instruct. Its silence carries the weight of millennia, inviting reflection on the lives, beliefs, and knowledge of the people who built it. What drove them to conceive such an unusual form, to labor so intensely, and to embed meaning into geometry and elevation? Monte endures as both architectural anomaly and spiritual enigma. Its form, scale, and orientation challenge our understanding of Neolithic societies, inviting us to consider how ancient people perceived the world and expressed their relationship to the cosmos. And as the Mediterranean sun casts long shadows across its terraces, it poses a question that has echoed through millennia. What secrets, knowledge, or beliefs are hidden in this step pyramid, waiting for those patient enough to see beyond stone and time? From the stepped terraces of Monte where geometry and ceremony converge in Sardinia, we journey across the seas to the lush, volcanic landscapes of western Java, Indonesia. Hidden among dense forests and terraced rice fields lies Situs Lebak Sibedug, an ancient megalithic site whose stones whisper stories that predate written history and whose purpose remains tantalizingly elusive. The first encounter with Sibedug is simultaneously humbling and disorienting. Towering stones rise from moss-covered ground, weathered by centuries of tropical rain and shadowed by towering trees. Many stones are carved, their surfaces etched with grooves, cupules, and unusual markings. Others stand unworked, seemingly random, yet positioned with remarkable deliberation. Pathways and alignments suggest intentional planning, hinting at a site designed to guide movement, observation, or ritual. The air is thick with humidity and the scent of earth, creating an almost otherworldly atmosphere, as if the forest itself guards secrets too old to speak aloud. Archaeologists date the megaliths at Sibedug to the late Neolithic or early Bronze Age, roughly 1000 to 500 BCE, although some researchers propose they may be far older. Mainstream interpretations suggest that the stones served ritual or ceremonial purposes: altars for offerings, gathering points for communal events, or memorials to ancestors. Excavations have uncovered limited evidence of human activity, including fragments of pottery, stone tools, and traces of fire. Yet these findings only hint at the site's significance, leaving much to speculation. Why construct such monumental stones in a dense tropical forest, far from permanent settlements? The arrangement of the stones adds to the mystery. Some researchers note alignments that appear to correspond with cardinal directions, or celestial events, particularly solstices. Could the builders have used these stones to track the sun, moon, or stars? If so, they may have possessed sophisticated observational knowledge rarely credited to societies of this period. The stone's placement suggests not only ritual intention, but also an awareness of space, perspective, and perhaps cosmic cycles. Walking among the megaliths, one is struck by their physical presence. Some stones tower over 3 meters, their sheer weight and positioning suggesting considerable engineering skill. Without metal tools or draft animals, the effort required to shape, transport, and erect these megaliths is staggering. What motivated these communities to undertake such monumental work? Was it devotion, social cohesion, or a combination of spiritual and practical imperatives? The site's isolation adds to the sense of enigma, as if the builders deliberately separated this sacred space from everyday life. Certain stones at Sibidug are carved with cupules, small, circular depressions whose purpose remains debated. Were they used for libations, ritual offerings, or astronomical observations? Others bear grooves that align with nearby stones or features in the landscape. Some fringe theories suggest that these markings may encode astronomical knowledge, energy channels, or symbolic representations of lost cultural knowledge. While such interpretations remain speculative, the repeated patterns and deliberate placement indicate an intelligence beyond simple utility. The surrounding environment amplifies the site's mysterious aura. Mist often drifts through the forest canopy, softening the edges of the stones and lending a dreamlike quality to the experience. Streams and terraces nearby suggest a sophisticated understanding of the landscape, where water, stone, and elevation interact harmoniously. Could the site have functioned as a spiritual center, an observatory, or a calendar embedded in the living landscape? The forest seems to guard these questions, allowing only glimpses of possible answers. Local legends preserve a sense of reverence and fear. Stories speak of spirits inhabiting the stones, of ancestors watching over the site, and of powers that respond to human devotion. These narratives, passed down through generations, hint at meanings and practices lost to time. The stones endure as silent witnesses, bridging the realms of myth and material history, inviting reflection on how memory, ritual, and landscape intertwine. Even today, moving among the stones, one senses a dialogue between human intent and natural forces. The weathered surfaces, the moss-covered bases, and the forest canopy create a liminal space where past and present coexist. Every step, every glance along a carefully positioned row of stones prompts questions. What ceremonies were enacted here? What knowledge guided the builders' choices? And what truths, encoded in these monoliths, remain hidden beneath centuries of decay and growth? Situs Labak Sibidug endures as both monument and enigma, a testament to human ingenuity, devotion, and the desire to shape meaning from stone. Its terraces, standing stones, and carved features challenge modern observers to consider the knowledge, beliefs, and cosmological awareness of its creators. And as sunlight filters through the tropical canopy, casting dappled light across the ancient stones, the site seems to ask a simple yet profound question. How much of human history, knowledge, and ritual remains buried in silence, waiting for those patient enough to observe, reflect, and wonder? From the tropical forests of Java, where the ancient stones of Situs Labak Sibidug rise in quiet mystery, we turn northward across continents and seas to the misty highlands of Scotland. Nestled near the village of Nairn, just east of Inverness, lies a Neolithic complex that has stood in silent watch over rolling hills for more than 4 millennia. The Clava Cairns. Unlike pyramids, temples, or monumental tombs of stone blocks, Clava is subtle in scale but profound in design, a landscape where light, shadow, and stone converge in patterns both deliberate and enigmatic. Approaching the site, the first impression is of rings, perfectly circular cairns, some enclosed by standing stones, others marked by curbs of meticulously placed rock, dot the terrain like echoes of a lost cosmic order. The stones are weathered by wind, rain, and frost, yet their alignment, placement, and proportion suggest careful calculation. Each cairn has a central burial chamber, often accessible through narrow stone-lined passages, while outer rings of standing stones create thresholds and boundaries. The overall effect is at once harmonious and mysterious, a landscape orchestrated to evoke both awe and contemplation. Archaeologists date Klava cairns to around 4,000 years ago, placing them firmly in the late Neolithic period. Excavations reveal cremated remains, pottery fragments, and rudimentary tools, indicating that these were indeed burial sites. Yet, unlike simpler grave mounds, the cairn's circular forms, concentric stone arrangements, and deliberate orientations suggest purposes beyond interment. Why construct such precise rings, often in remote or elevated locations? What rituals, beliefs, or cosmological knowledge informed these choices? The most compelling aspect of Klava cairns is their alignment with celestial events. Many of the cairn's passages and standing stones are oriented toward the midwinter sunset. On the shortest day of the year, the sun's rays fall directly along certain passages, illuminating the inner chambers in a brief, radiant alignment. This phenomenon, repeated across multiple cairns, hints at sophisticated astronomical observation and suggests that the site functioned not only as a burial ground, but also as a calendar or ceremonial observatory. Did the builders encode their understanding of the cosmos into these stone rings, bridging life, death, and the cycles of the sun? The architecture is equally fascinating. The central chambers are constructed with corbelled roofs, large capstones, and carefully fitted orthostats, demonstrating precise engineering skills. Outer curbs and standing stones are arranged with geometrical accuracy, sometimes forming interlocking patterns or concentric rings. How did Neolithic societies, lacking metal tools or complex machinery, accomplish such feats of construction with both precision and durability? And why select this particular landscape of rolling hills, valleys, and vistas? Was visibility, ritual isolation, or landscape symbolism a driving factor? Walking among the cairns, one senses the intentionality in every placement. The low hum of the wind across the standing stones, the shadows cast at varying angles throughout the day, and the subtle changes in perspective as one moves around the circles, all suggest that Klava was designed to engage both the body and the mind. Did the builders intend for participants in rituals to move along precise paths, to witness the sun's light at appointed times, or to experience a progression from the mundane to the sacred? The subtlety of the architecture invites reflection on the intersection of engineering, ritual, and cosmology. Fringe interpretations abound. Some scholars and enthusiasts propose that Klava cairns encode advanced astronomical or mathematical knowledge lost to us. Others speculate on spiritual or energetic properties of the stones, suggesting alignment with geomagnetic or ley line phenomena. While such ideas remain speculative, they underscore the site's capacity to inspire curiosity and wonder. The rings of Klava cairns are more than stone. They are a language of placement, proportion, and orientation, one that has spoken silently across millennia. The surrounding landscape amplifies the sense of mystery. Rolling hills, patches of forest, and open fields stretch outward, placing the cairns in visual dialogue with the horizon. The cairn's visibility and prominence in the landscape suggest intentional interaction with both the environment and the sky. Could the site have been a ceremonial center for multiple communities, a gathering place for seasonal festivals, or a sacred observatory designed to track lunar and solar cycles? The answers remain obscured, hidden in the interplay of stone, shadow, and landscape. Local lore adds further depth. Legends of spirits, ancient guardians, and mystical energies cling to the cairns, echoing oral traditions that preserve fragments of meaning now lost. These stories, passed down through generations, reinforce the sense that Clava cairns were more than burial sites. They were places where the living engaged with the unseen, where ritual, cosmology, and memory intersected. Even today, stepping among the rings, tracing the lines of sight toward the horizon, and feeling the texture of weathered stone, one senses the deliberate intention of its creators. The cairns invite us to consider questions that remain unanswered. What ceremonies were enacted here? How precise was their astronomical knowledge? And what understanding of life, death, and the cosmos guided the hands that placed each stone with such care? Clava cairns endure as monuments of both human skill and mystery. Their rings, passages, and alignments challenge modern assumptions about Neolithic societies, suggesting a depth of observation, ritual sophistication, and symbolic awareness rarely attributed to such early communities. And as the highland wind whispers through the standing stones, casting fleeting shadows across the low cairns, the site seems to pose a question across the centuries. How much of human ingenuity, belief, and knowledge remains hidden in these silent rings of stone, waiting for the patient eye and attentive mind to discern? From the windswept cairns of Scotland, where stone rings capture the cycles of sun and shadow, we now voyage southward across the Mediterranean to the sun-baked island of Malta. Perched atop a rocky ridge overlooking the azure waters of the sea, the Hagar Qim complex rises in monumental silence, its massive megaliths weathered by millennia, yet still defying comprehension. The first impression is striking. Enormous slabs of limestone, some weighing over 20 tons, arranged with deliberate precision to form passageways, altars, and ceremonial chambers. From a distance, the site commands the landscape. Up close, it reveals intricacies of design that hint at knowledge far beyond its era. Hagar Qim dates to approximately 3600 to 3200 BCE, placing it among the earliest megalithic temples of Malta and indeed the world. Archaeological excavations reveal evidence of complex ritual life: altars for offerings, intricately carved stone figurines, pottery fragments, and traces of fire and animal sacrifice. These findings indicate a highly organized society capable of mobilizing labor, resources, and specialized skills to create structures that were not merely functional, but symbolic, sacred, and enduring. Yet, despite centuries of study, the full purpose of Hagar Qim remains tantalizingly obscure. The temple's architecture immediately captures attention. Its walls, formed from massive upright stones, curve to create chambers and corridors that suggest careful planning. Some stones bear intricate carvings, spirals, animal motifs, and abstract patterns whose meaning is still debated. Of particular fascination are the trilithons, two vertical stones supporting a massive horizontal capstone, creating doorways that frame light and space in precise ways. The orientation of the temple aligns with the rising sun during the solstice, casting rays into inner chambers in a phenomenon that would have held immense ritual significance. Did the builders possess a sophisticated understanding of astronomy, encoding solar events into the very stones themselves? The scale of construction continues to amaze. Moving and erecting stones of such magnitude without metal tools, pulleys, or draft animals would have required not only immense manpower, but also ingenuity, coordination, and planning. How did these prehistoric communities quarry, shape, and transport slabs weighing tens of tons across uneven terrain? And why devote such monumental effort to structures that seem designed more for ritual and observation than for practical needs? The effort suggests an imperative rooted in belief, power, or cosmic understanding, an imperative that we can glimpse but never fully know. Hagar Qim's chambers evoke both intimacy and awe. Narrow passages open into spaces that could have been used for ceremonies, while altars and hearths indicate acts of devotion. Some researchers propose that the temple was oriented to mark seasonal changes, functioning as both a spiritual center and a calendar for agricultural or ritual cycles. The positioning of certain stones may have created acoustic effects, amplifying sound or ritual chant, further enhancing the sensory experience of the sacred. Here, stone and space converge to create a deliberate environment, one designed to shape perception, devotion, and understanding. The landscape itself plays a role in the temple's impact. Perched on elevated ground, Hagar Qim overlooks fertile plains and the open sea, connecting the ritual space to both land and horizon. The temple's visibility, orientation, and integration with the environment suggest that the builders intended it to interact with natural phenomena, sunlight, wind, and terrain, linking the sacred architecture to the rhythms of the world. Was this a way of embedding cosmology into daily life, or a demonstration of authority and mastery over nature? Perhaps both. Some aspects of Hagar Qim continue to perplex scholars. Certain carvings remain unexplained. Some stone arrangements seem intentionally anomalous, resisting straightforward interpretation. Fringe theories propose connections to lost knowledge, advanced astronomical observation, or even energetic properties of the stones. While these ideas are speculative, they underscore a broader truth. Hagar Qim was not built merely as a utilitarian space. It was a deliberate, monumental expression of human thought, belief, and imagination, crafted to endure and to challenge those who encounter it. Walking among the megaliths today, one is struck by the physicality of the experience. The sheer weight of the stones, the rough texture of the limestone, and the intimate scale of inner chambers create a dialogue between human and material, past and present. Sunlight filters through openings, casting shifting patterns on walls, floors, and altars. In this interplay of light and stone, the temple communicates a quiet majesty, a sense that the builders understood not only mechanics and architecture, but also perception, experience, and the subtle power of space. Hagar Qim stands as a testament to human ambition and ingenuity, yet it also humbles. The temple reminds us that even in an age of modern knowledge, some structures retain their ability to confound and inspire. Its massive stones, precise orientations, and enigmatic carvings continue to spark questions. How much did its creators understand about the cosmos? What rituals and beliefs guided their hands and minds? And what truths, embedded in stone and shadow, remain hidden from our understanding? In the end, Hagar Qim endures not only as a monument to the past, but as an invitation to wonder. Its megaliths, carvings, and sunlit chambers remind us that ancient civilizations engaged deeply with the world around them, its cycles, its energies, and its mysteries. And as the Mediterranean wind sweeps across the ridge, carrying the scent of sea and earth, one cannot help but feel that these stones, silent yet eloquent, are still waiting for us to see, reflect, and ask the questions they were built to preserve. From the sun-drenched ridges of Hagar Qim, where massive limestone blocks capture the rhythms of sun and shadow, we move inland to the fertile plains near Jebig in northern Malta, where the Skorba temples emerge as a quieter yet equally compelling chapter in the story of prehistoric megalithic architecture. Unlike the grandeur of Hagar Qim or Manasdra, Skorba is more modest in scale, yet it possesses a layered complexity that has captivated archaeologists and visitors alike. Here, beneath the weight of time, lie echoes of a society whose reach and understanding continue to puzzle modern inquiry. Approaching Skorba, the first impression is of layered history. Excavations reveal that the site was occupied in stages, beginning in the 5th millennium BCE during the Gar Dalam phase, long before the great temple complexes dominated the Maltese landscape. Later, in the temple period around 3600 to 2500 BCE, The site was transformed into a megalithic sanctuary, with carefully aligned walls, altars, and ceremonial spaces. The stones, some carved, others left raw, stand in patterns that suggest deliberate intention, connecting space, ritual, and possibly cosmic observation. The architecture is immediately striking for its subtle complexity. The temple consists of apsidal chambers, semicircular rooms linked by narrow corridors. Low, upright stones form walls, while larger megaliths mark thresholds, guiding movement from outer spaces to inner sanctuaries. Excavations uncovered altars, libation pits, and fragmented figurines, pointing to a rich ceremonial life. The layout implies not only practical construction, but a symbolic progression. As one moves inward, the sacred intensifies, a journey through space mirroring the movement of time, or the transition from the mundane to the divine. Archaeological evidence reveals that Skorba's builders were not only skilled in stonework, but also attentive to ritual precision. Pottery shards, tools, and traces of offerings suggest regular ceremonial activity, while alignments hint at an awareness of solar and possibly lunar cycles. Certain chambers are oriented toward the sunrise, suggesting an integration of architecture with natural rhythms. Could these alignments have marked important seasonal or agricultural events, blending practicality with devotion? Or did they serve purely symbolic or spiritual functions, encoding knowledge and belief into the very stones? The scale and effort required to construct Skorba are remarkable, particularly considering the limitations of prehistoric technology. Large limestone blocks were quarried, shaped, and transported without metal tools, draft animals, or complex machinery. The precision of their placement, often in curved apses or ceremonial alignments, speaks to a level of planning and coordination that challenges assumptions about prehistoric societies. What social or spiritual imperatives motivated such monumental effort? What knowledge guided their hands in shaping and positioning stones with such care? Walking through the temple, the physicality of the stones is palpable. The rough texture of limestone underhand, the narrow corridors that compress movement and focus attention, the thresholds marked by larger stones, all create an immersive environment. Here, perception is guided, attention directed, and experience heightened. The temple seems designed not only to house rituals, but to shape them, directing the senses, the mind, and perhaps even the spirit. Skorba also preserves subtle mysteries. Some stones bear cup marks or carved grooves whose purpose remains debated. Were they ritual markings, symbols of ownership, or tools for observation? The stratigraphy suggests earlier structures beneath the visible temple, hinting at layers of use, adaptation, and cultural memory. The site was not a static creation, but a living space, evolving over centuries, reflecting continuity, transformation, and perhaps the persistence of knowledge across generations. Beyond the stones themselves, the surrounding landscape interacts with the temple in meaningful ways. The fertile fields of northern Malta, the proximity to water sources, and the visibility of the horizon suggest a conscious integration of environment and architecture. Did the builders intend for the temple to engage with the land, connecting ritual practice to the cycles of agriculture, climate, or celestial movement? The relationship between Skorba and its environment underscores the sophistication of these early communities, hinting at a worldview in which humans, stones, and cosmos were interwoven. Fringe theories have occasionally surrounded Skorba, as they do many megalithic sites. Some suggest that the temple preserves knowledge lost to time, advanced astronomy, geomantic awareness, or symbolic representations of cosmological principles. While such ideas remain speculative, they reflect the enduring fascination these stones inspire, Scorba challenges us to question what prehistoric communities truly knew, what they valued, and what cultural knowledge has been obscured by the passage of millennia. Even today, standing amid the partially reconstructed walls and chambers, one senses a quiet resonance. The stones, weathered by thousands of years, seem to hold memory of ceremonies performed, of lives observed, of generations seeking to engage with forces beyond comprehension. The site invites reflection. How much of human ingenuity and belief remains hidden in these silent structures? What motivated these early builders to shape stone into enduring forms, leaving a legacy that continues to inspire wonder and inquiry? Scorba temples endure as a testament to human ingenuity, devotion, and the capacity to create meaning in stone. Their apsidal chambers, altars, and subtle alignments remind us that prehistoric societies were neither simple nor primitive. They were communities capable of observation, abstraction, and spiritual depth. And as sunlight filters through the open skies of northern Malta, illuminating the worn surfaces and carefully positioned stones, the site poses a timeless question. What secrets, buried in the stone and the soil, still await discovery by those willing to look closely, think deeply, and wonder without end? From the sun-soaked temples of Malta, where ritual and celestial observation converge in meticulously arranged stone, we now journey southward to the rugged highlands of Zimbabwe. Amid rolling hills, dry riverbeds, and the vast African plains lies Qami, an ancient city of stone whose ruins whisper of an advanced civilization, whose skill, ambition, and architectural ingenuity remain deeply enigmatic. Unlike the vertical temples of the Mediterranean, Qami sprawls across terraces and platforms, its carefully constructed walls and courts revealing a complex urban layout that speaks to both social hierarchy and ceremonial life. Approaching Qami, the scale and precision of its stonework immediately impress. The city is built atop a series of terraces, each supported by dry stone retaining walls. The stones, granite blocks expertly fitted without mortar, rise in geometric patterns, zigzags, curves, and linear arrangements that create both structural stability and aesthetic rhythm. Some walls reach several meters in height, while others trace intricate enclosures and courtyards. The deliberate design conveys sophistication. Qami was not merely a settlement, it was a statement of power, culture, and human mastery over landscape. Archaeologists date Qami to the 15th and 16th centuries CE, identifying it as the capital of the Torwa state. Yet, despite its relatively late chronology in African history, the precision and scale of its stone construction surpass what might be expected for its era and technology. Many of the stones are polished or shaped to interlock with remarkable accuracy, and the city's layout suggests careful planning to accommodate social, political, and ritual functions. How did the builders achieve such engineering feats with rudimentary tools? And what knowledge guided their placement of walls, terraces, and pathways across the challenging terrain? The architecture reveals layers of purpose. Lower terraces appear to have housed ordinary dwellings, while upper platforms contained elite residences and ceremonial spaces. Courtyards, stone enclosures, and open plazas suggest communal gatherings, markets, or ritual activities. The city's design also reflects a keen awareness of defense and visibility. Elevated terraces offer commanding views over the surrounding plains, while walls and platforms create complex pathways, guiding movement and observation. Was this a conscious effort to integrate practical urban planning with social control, ritual practice, or symbolic representation? The answer remains tantalizingly elusive. Qami's walls are particularly striking. Large granite blocks, sometimes weighing several tons, are laid in precise courses without mortar. Zigzag patterns are prominent, forming both aesthetic motifs and functional structures. Scholars debate whether these geometric arrangements were purely decorative, symbolic, or served some structural or ritual purpose. Did the Torwa intend to encode meaning in the stones themselves, a silent language visible only to those who understood its significance? The answer is lost to time, yet the visual impact of these forms continues to command attention. The city's terraces themselves evoke both practicality and symbolism. By constructing successive levels, the builders created not only stability on uneven terrain, but also a hierarchy of space. Movement from lower to higher terraces may have represented progression, from mundane to sacred, from commoner to elite, from profane to ceremonial. Was the city designed to instruct, impress, or inspire those who moved through it? Did the placement of walls and enclosures guide social behavior, ritual participation, or observation of cosmic events? Again, the stones remain silent, offering hints but no clear answers. Evidence of ritual and ceremonial activity pervades the site. Excavations reveal remnants of stone altars, cooking pits, and pottery fragments, suggesting that daily life, political power, and spiritual practice were intertwined. Some researchers propose that Kami was a ceremonial as well as administrative center, a place where leaders demonstrated authority while maintaining connections with ancestral or spiritual forces. The interplay between social hierarchy, ritual practice, and architectural mastery illustrates a civilization that was both organized and symbolically sophisticated. The labor and coordination required to construct Kami were immense. Moving massive granite blocks across terraces, shaping them to interlock, and creating geometrically precise walls without metal clamps or modern machinery implies not only technical skill but also a highly organized workforce. What social structures allowed this coordination? What beliefs or motivations justified such monumental labor? And how much of the knowledge required to build and maintain Kami has been irretrievably lost? Fringe interpretations have occasionally surrounded Kami. Some speculate that the terraces and wall patterns encode cosmological or energetic knowledge, while others suggest symbolic alignments with natural or celestial phenomena. Although these ideas remain speculative, they highlight a central truth. Kami was designed to be more than functional. It was an expression of culture, belief, and power, a city whose very stones convey intent, sophistication, and perhaps a connection to forces beyond immediate perception. Walking among Kami's terraces today, one experiences a powerful sense of scale, history, and mystery. The geometric precision of the walls, the massive stones arranged with care, the interplay of terraces and open space, all create an environment both human and monumental. The city communicates across centuries, offering insight into the ingenuity and vision of its builders, yet withholding full comprehension. Its stones are witnesses to lives, rituals, and ambitions that remain partially hidden, leaving us to wonder at the knowledge and culture that produced such enduring architecture. Even as the African sun casts long shadows across Kami's terraces, the site retains a quiet, almost solemn resonance. Here, labor, belief, and aesthetics intersect, producing a city that is as enigmatic as it is impressive. How much did the Torwa understand about engineering, astronomy, or symbolism? How deliberate were the geometric patterns and terraces in encoding social or spiritual information? And what truths, lost to history, lie buried within these walls and beneath the terraces? Kami endures as a testament to human ambition, skill, and mystery. Its terraces, walls, and platforms remind us that even in prehistoric or early historic societies, architecture was not merely functional. It was symbolic, ceremonial, and deeply intertwined with identity, power, and belief. And as the wind sweeps across the Zimbabwean highlands, rustling grasses over abandoned terraces, one senses that Kami's stones continue to whisper questions across time. How much of human knowledge has vanished, and how many mysteries still await discovery by those patient enough to observe, to think, and to wonder? From the terraced city of Kami, where geometric precision and monumental labor speak of an organized and ceremonial society, we turn northward to the heart of ancient Egypt, where the fertile plains of the Nile cradle one of the most enigmatic and mysterious monuments in human history, the Osirian at Abydos. Hidden behind the more familiar grandeur of Seti Wai's mortuary temple, the Osirian lies partially subterranean, a sunken labyrinth of massive granite blocks and quiet stone chambers. Its appearance is deceptively simple, yet the scale and sophistication of its construction reveal a monument that challenges conventional understanding of Egyptian architecture, chronology, and purpose. Approaching the Osirian, the first sensation is one of solemnity. The temple is built at a lower level than the surrounding terrain, creating the impression of descending into another world. Massive megalithic blocks, some weighing tens of tons, form corridors, pillars, and chambers with remarkable precision. The walls are smooth, the stones carefully joined, and the layout is geometrically disciplined, reflecting engineering skill that seems almost otherworldly, given the presumed resources of its time. As one steps inside, a cool, shadowed space contrasts sharply with the blazing desert sun outside, evoking both awe and mystery. Archaeologists traditionally date the Osirian to the reign of Pharaoh Seti I around the 13th century BCE. Its alignment, however, and the massive stones used in its construction have prompted debate. Some suggest that it is deliberately archaic in style, echoing much older building traditions that predate the dynastic period. The temple's subterranean nature, combined with its megalithic construction and enigmatic water-filled channels, hints at symbolic meanings and functional purposes that remain elusive. Why build a temple beneath the ground, obscured from view, yet so monumental in scale? What ancient knowledge guided its construction, and what rituals were performed in these stone corridors? The design of Osirian is immediately striking for its symmetry and deliberate geometry. A central hall, supported by immense pillars, stretches toward a central island, which some scholars propose represented the mythical tomb of Osiris, god of the afterlife. Channels of water run around and beneath this platform, suggesting ritual purification, symbolic inundation, or perhaps an attempt to align with cosmic or Nile-based cycles. Could the builders have been encoding esoteric knowledge, linking the earthly Nile with celestial and underworld principles? The interaction of stone, water, and light within the temple speaks to a sophistication that modern observers struggle to fully comprehend. The scale of the Osirian compounds its mystery. The massive granite blocks, quarried and transported from unknown sources, were fitted with precision that leaves little room for mortar or error. Some stones weigh over 200 tons, raising questions about ancient engineering and logistics. How could such immense stones have been moved, lifted, and aligned with such exactitude using only the tools available in Seti I's era, or earlier if the temple predates him? The technical knowledge implied by the construction of Osirian seems, in some ways, to surpass the documented capabilities of contemporary societies. The subterranean chambers themselves evoke a profound sense of ritual and symbolism. The central island and surrounding halls suggest spaces intended for sacred performance, meditation, or communication with the divine. Inscriptions and carvings, sparse but deliberate, hint at mythological significance, yet much of the temple's symbolic content remains undeciphered. The Osirian may have functioned as a cenotaph, a tomb, or a symbolic microcosm of the underworld. Could it have been a site where priests engaged with mysteries of life, death, and rebirth? Or perhaps a repository of knowledge preserved for an elite, initiated few? Some aspects of the Osirian continue to challenge conventional explanations. Water levels within the chambers suggest intentional inundation, creating reflective surfaces that amplify sound and light. Certain walls and pillars bear patterns and alignments that some researchers argue correspond to stellar or solar phenomena. Could the temple have been a cosmic observatory, a sacred calendar, or a space designed to manipulate perception and experience? Such theories, while speculative, underscore the ongoing fascination the Osirian inspires, highlighting its capacity to provoke questions rather than provide answers. The relationship between Osirian and Setiwai's mortuary temple above is itself a subject of inquiry. Was the Osirian an integral part of Seti's construction, or does it represent a far older structure that was deliberately incorporated into his temple complex? Some Egyptologists argue for a pre-dynastic origin, pointing to construction techniques and stylistic elements that differ from the surrounding temple. If true, this could suggest continuity of sacred tradition spanning millennia, and an ancient knowledge deliberately preserved across generations. What forces, beliefs, or imperatives motivated the creation of such a structure in the first place? And why did later builders choose to maintain it rather than demolish or modify it entirely? Walking through Osirian today, one is struck by the physicality of the experience. The cool air, the echoing corridors, the weight of granite, and the interplay of shadow and light create a space that is at once monumental and intimate. The temple seems designed to impress and humble, to evoke reverence and reflection. Every step, every sightline, every alignment of stone contributes to an immersive experience that blurs the line between architecture and ritual, between engineering and spiritual expression. The Osirian continues to provoke wonder because it operates on multiple levels: structural, symbolic, astronomical, and possibly even acoustic or energetic. It challenges our assumptions about the abilities and intentions of ancient societies. Did the builders possess lost techniques, esoteric knowledge, or cultural insights that modern scholarship has yet to grasp? Or was the Osirian simply the product of exceptional skill applied with careful observation and devotion? Perhaps we will never fully know, yet the questions themselves deepen our understanding of human curiosity and ingenuity. As sunlight glances across the basalt and granite of the surrounding desert, reflecting faintly in the pools within the temple, the Osirian conveys a sense of timelessness. It is a monument deliberately designed to endure, to evoke wonder, and to hold secrets. In the quiet of its chambers, one is reminded that even in a civilization as well studied as ancient Egypt, mysteries remain, waiting for those patient and observant enough to seek them. And so, Osirian stands, submerged yet monumental, a testament to human ambition, ingenuity, and the desire to reach beyond the mundane. It invites us to wonder, what did the ancients know that we do not? What truths lie hidden beneath the stones, beneath the waters, and within the intentions of those who built this subterranean enigma? Perhaps, like Osiris himself, some secrets were meant to be veiled, glimpsed only through careful observation, reverent study, and the passage of time. From the subterranean mysteries of the Osirian, where granite pillars and hidden waters evoke sacred power, we return to the Mediterranean, to the island of Malta, a land steeped in prehistory, where limestone cliffs meet azure seas, and where one of the most extraordinary collections of megalithic temples in the world quietly preserves secrets older than written history. Among these ancient sites, the Tarxian temples stand as a monument to human ingenuity, spiritual expression, and perhaps knowledge that has been lost to time. Arriving at Tarxian, the first impression is one of overwhelming craftsmanship. The temples are constructed from massive blocks of local limestone, carefully shaped and arranged to form interconnected chambers, passageways, and altars. The stones, some weighing several tons, are fitted with a precision that seems almost impossible for a society with no metal tools and limited mechanical advantage. What strikes the observer immediately is not only the scale of the work, but also its sophistication. Every wall, corridor, and niche appears deliberate, each curve and alignment hinting at purpose beyond the purely functional. Archaeologists date Tarxian to between 3,600 and 2,500 BCE, placing it firmly in Malta's Temple period, a time when the islands were home to an astonishingly advanced culture. Despite their age, the temples exhibit detailed carvings, including spirals, animals, and symbolic motifs. Reliefs of oxen, serpents, and other creatures suggest ritual significance, possibly linked to fertility, cosmology, or ancestral veneration. Yet, the exact meanings remain elusive. Were these temples purely ceremonial, or did they serve as centers of astronomical observation, agricultural planning, or even initiation rites? The stones themselves hold the clues, yet the interpretation is complex, layered, and open-ended. The architectural complexity of Tarxian is particularly notable. The site consists of multiple interconnected chambers, each with its own altars and carvings, creating a labyrinthine interior. Some scholars have proposed that the layout mirrors a symbolic cosmology, a microcosm of the universe where each chamber represents a different realm, stage, or aspect of life and death. Others suggest that the arrangement was functional, guiding processions or ritual movement through a prescribed path. How did the builders conceive such a plan without written blueprints? And what rituals, what knowledge, were embedded in these pathways that have since been lost to millennia? One of the most remarkable features of Tarxian is the level of precision in the stonework. Walls are often carefully leveled, with blocks fitted so tightly that even a knife blade cannot pass between them. Pillars and altars are shaped with both aesthetic and symbolic intent. Some carvings seem to represent abstract cosmological ideas, while others depict recognizable animals or symbolic motifs. The craftsmanship suggests a society deeply invested in both ritual and artistry. How much of this knowledge was practical, and how much was symbolic, intended to communicate with forces beyond the physical world? The site also offers hints of sophisticated engineering. Drainage channels, carefully constructed stone floors, and the orientation of chambers all indicate awareness of water management, natural forces, and perhaps celestial patterns. Could the temples have been aligned with solstices or other astronomical phenomena, tracking the cycles of the sun, moon, or stars? Some researchers argue that the spatial arrangement of chambers and altars mirrors natural or cosmic rhythms, though definitive evidence remains elusive. If true, these alignments would suggest a level of knowledge and observation far beyond what is often attributed to Neolithic societies. Tarxian, like other Maltese temples, is linked to the broader context of the island's megalithic tradition. Sites such as Hagar Qim and Menajra, within a few kilometers, share stylistic and structural similarities, suggesting a continuous cultural and ritual network. Yet Tarxian stands out for the density and intricacy of its carvings and chamber arrangements. Was it a central sanctuary, a hub for pilgrims, or the ceremonial heart of a complex spiritual society? Or does it represent a layering of uses over generations, each building upon the knowledge and traditions of the previous? Some aspects of Tarxian continue to defy explanation. Certain stones bear grooves and cup marks whose purpose is unknown. Some chambers feature altars with basins that may have held water or offerings, yet their exact ritual use is speculative. The sheer effort required to quarry, transport, and shape the limestone blocks points to a highly organized society with both social and spiritual incentives to undertake monumental labor. What motivated this devotion? Was it reverence for gods, ancestors, or natural cycles, or knowledge of principles we no longer understand? Walking through Tarxian today, one is struck by both the scale and intimacy of the experience. The chambers create a rhythmic play of shadow and light, guiding the visitor along spaces that feel both ceremonial and sacred. The carvings, some abstract, some figurative, speak to a culture that invested deeply in symbolism and ritual. Even after millennia, the site communicates, evoking questions about human ingenuity, spiritual life, and the intersection of art and utility. Fringe interpretations have also arisen around Tarxian. Some suggest the megaliths encode astronomical or energetic information, or that the temples were part of a broader network connected to other megalithic sites across the Mediterranean and beyond. While these theories remain speculative, they underscore a truth that conventional archaeology often struggles to convey. Tarxian was built with knowledge, intention, and vision, and it challenges modern observers to rethink the capabilities and understanding of its builders. The site's continued preservation allows for reflection on both the temporal and spiritual scales it represents. Standing amid the towering limestone blocks, one senses the weight of centuries, the labor of countless hands, and the devotion of a society to its sacred spaces. Yet the more we observe, the more questions emerge. What were the ceremonies performed here? What stories, myths, or cosmologies were encoded in the stone? How did the builders conceive such monumental architecture without written language or advanced tools? Tarxian temples remain, in many ways, a riddle carved in stone. They remind us that even in societies long before recorded history, humans achieved extraordinary feats of architecture, engineering, and symbolic expression. The site invites contemplation, not only of its beauty and complexity, but of the mysteries that endure. Knowledge lost, rituals unrecorded, and intentions obscured by time. As sunlight shifts across the limestone, highlighting spirals, basins, and walls, one is left with a profound sense of wonder. Tarxian, like so many megalithic sites, speaks quietly yet insistently. There is much about our collective past that remains beyond comprehension, hidden in stone, etched in ritual, and encoded in the very landscapes that shaped early civilizations. And it is in the space between observation and understanding that the true allure of these ancient megalithic wonders resides. From the limestone sanctuaries of Malta, where Tarxian temples whisper of a civilization's devotion to stone, symbol, and ritual, we now travel east across continents and oceans to the remote waters off the southern coast of Japan. Beneath the restless waves of the East China Sea lies one of the most controversial and mysterious megalithic sites in the world, the Yonaguni Monument, a submerged formation that has captivated archaeologists, geologists, divers, and enthusiasts alike. Here, beneath the turquoise waters off Yonaguni Island, natural forces and human ingenuity appear to converge in a place that challenges our understanding of history. The first encounter with Yonaguni is both startling and mesmerizing. Beneath the clear, often turbulent waters, massive terraces, steps, and angular ledges emerge from the seabed, forming a series of platforms that stretch across a vast underwater landscape. Some formations rise several meters above the ocean floor, with flat surfaces, sharp edges, and geometric alignments that seem almost architectural in nature. Divers report an eerie sensation of walking through a submerged city, where stone blocks, ramp-like structures, and what appear to be walls and roads echo the familiar patterns of terrestrial monuments. Yet the water itself adds an element of distortion and mystery, as light refracts and currents swirl, making every angle seem simultaneously natural and unnatural. Mainstream geologists have often suggested that Yonaguni is primarily a product of natural tectonic activity. Japan sits on a complex network of fault lines, and the intense geological pressures over millennia can produce planar fractures, terraces, and jagged formations. Indeed, some of Yonaguni's terraces, steps, and sharp angles resemble features created through erosion, jointing, and seismic uplift. Yet the more one examines the site, the harder it becomes to dismiss the possibility of human intervention. The structures display patterns, right angles, parallel walls, flat surfaces, and precise terraces that rarely occur in nature alone. Could natural forces alone produce a multi-level, stair-like complex spanning hundreds of meters with repeated geometric precision? Several formations stand out as particularly compelling. The largest, often referred to as the main pyramid, rises from the seabed in a roughly rectangular shape, with clearly defined steps and flat platforms. Nearby, a series of terraces and submerged roads interconnect in ways that suggest planning and intent. In some areas, carved depressions and grooves resemble foundations, altars, or ceremonial spaces. One prominent feature, the five-tiered pyramid, has become iconic among researchers and divers, drawing comparisons to megalithic structures found across the globe. Could these terraces, steps, and chambers be remnants of a lost civilization, submerged by rising sea levels at the end of the last ice age? The timing of such submersion adds another layer of mystery. At the end of the last glacial period, roughly 10,000, 12,000 years ago, sea levels were significantly lower than today. Lands now submerged, including parts of the Ryukyu archipelago, would have been dry and habitable. If Yonaguni was indeed constructed or modified by humans, it could predate all known Japanese civilizations by millennia, representing a lost chapter of advanced engineering and societal organization. What knowledge, techniques, or motivations could have led a prehistoric society to carve such a monumental complex beneath the sky, unaware that it would eventually vanish beneath the waves? Evidence of human modification is debated but compelling to many. Several structures exhibit sharp, straight edges and right angles that defy typical erosion patterns. Certain blocks appear to be stacked or placed with intention rather than fractured randomly. Some formations resemble megalithic gates, plazas, or steps leading to ceremonial spaces. Even the placement of certain underwater channels and depressions hints at purposeful design, potentially for water management, ritual cleansing, or symbolic function. The patterns seem to suggest not only construction but cultural intent, a desire to create a space of meaning and significance. The controversy surrounding Yonaguni extends to its interpretations. Skeptics argue that it is a natural formation, enhanced by human touches, perhaps small modifications added by fishermen or ancient coastal communities. Others contend that it represents a fully constructed megalithic city, submerged by post-glacial sea rise. The debate is not merely academic. It touches on fundamental questions about human history, the emergence of complex societies, and the ingenuity of prehistoric peoples. If Yonaguni is indeed human-made, it would force a radical re-evaluation of our understanding of technological and cultural development in East Asia. Divers describe the site as both haunting and mesmerizing. The water absorbs sound, creating a profound silence broken only by the bubbles of breathing apparatus and distant currents. Fish weave through the terraces, and light dances across the stone surfaces, revealing textures that are both natural and uncanny in their precision. Swimming over the main pyramid, one can trace its contours, stair-like edges, and angular platforms, imagining the people who might have walked these steps long before recorded history, and wondering what purposes these structures served. Was it a ceremonial complex, a gathering place, a spiritual sanctuary, or even a hub of governance? Some researchers have proposed more speculative interpretations. Could Yonaguni have been aligned with celestial or lunar events? Do the terraces and pathways encode knowledge of navigation, astronomy, or cosmology? Might the carvings, channels, and depressions have had acoustic or energetic significance, enhancing ritual performance or communal experience. These ideas remain controversial, yet they highlight the monument's capacity to challenge conventional narratives and to inspire wonder. The Yonaguni monument also raises profound questions about memory, loss, and the impermanence of civilizations. If the site was constructed or modified by humans, it is now submerged beneath meters of water, largely inaccessible except to divers. Rising seas, earthquakes, and tidal forces have altered its surfaces, eroded some features, and concealed others. In this sense, Yonaguni is a literal and symbolic reminder that human achievement can vanish, leaving only traces, whispers, and puzzles for future generations. What other wonders, built with intent and knowledge, lie hidden beneath the world's oceans, waiting for discovery? Standing above the main pyramid, observing its terraces and steps through the water, one cannot escape the tension between nature and human agency. Each stone, each line seems to ask questions. How much did human hands shape this place? How much was shaped by time, tectonics, and the sea? And perhaps the most tantalizing question, if this was indeed a human construction, who were its builders, and what knowledge did they possess that we no longer understand? Even without definitive answers, Yonaguni continues to inspire awe and contemplation. Its scale, geometry, and submersion create a sense of timelessness, as though the site exists outside conventional chronology. The monument defies easy categorization, blending natural forces with apparent human intention, and challenging our assumptions about the capabilities of prehistoric peoples. It is a submerged enigma, a stone witness to events long past, and a silent teacher of both humility and wonder. In the end, the Yonaguni monument remains a question as much as a place. Beneath the waters of the East China Sea lies a landscape carved by time, perhaps guided by human hands, perhaps molded by nature, but certainly imbued with significance. It invites us to reflect on the ingenuity, ambition, and mystery of our ancestors, and to ask whether the history we know is but a fragment of what once was. The terraces, steps, and angular forms endure, beckoning to those willing to explore, observe, and imagine. Some mysteries, it seems, are not meant to be solved entirely. They are meant to be experienced, pondered, and respected. Yonaguni, like so many megalithic wonders across the globe, exists at the intersection of human curiosity, nature's power, and the inexhaustible questions of history. And it is there, in the silent depths, that its story, unfinished, enigmatic, and impossible, continues to unfold. From the submerged terraces of Yonaguni, where the ocean conceals as much as it reveals, we journey across the vast Pacific to one of the most isolated islands on Earth, Rapa Nui, or Easter Island. Here, amid sweeping volcanic plains and jagged lava formations, stands Vinapu, a site less celebrated than the island's iconic Moai, yet no less mysterious. In its arrangement of stone walls and platforms, Vinapu presents a mastery of construction and geometry that continues to baffle researchers and invites us to reconsider what isolated societies were capable of achieving thousands of years ago. Vinapu's first impression is subtle but commanding. The site sits on a low rise overlooking the plains, framed by distant volcanic cones and the Pacific's ever-present horizon. The terrain is rugged, with scattered stones and remnants of lava flows, yet the walls of Vinapu rise with a clarity and intention that immediately separates them from the surrounding chaos. Unlike the Moai, whose solemn faces gaze toward distant horizons, Vinapu's structures focus inward, drawing attention to the precision of the masonry itself. The stones, primarily basalt, are polygonal and interlock so seamlessly that even the thinnest blade cannot slide between them. Their surfaces, though weathered, hint at meticulous shaping, as if each block was measured, cut, and adjusted to fit a larger hidden pattern. Archaeologists date Vinapuu to the late pre-European period of Rapa Nui, though the site's precise chronology remains elusive. Its construction appears contemporaneous with or slightly later than the main phases of Moai production, suggesting a period of intense architectural activity on the island. Vinapuu is composed of terraces, walls, and enclosures, arranged with a sophistication that suggests both functional and ceremonial intent. The wall's polygonal stones resemble those of Sacsayhuaman and Ollantaytambo in Peru, a similarity that has led some researchers to propose trans-Pacific influences, while others interpret it as independent innovation, a remarkable example of convergent engineering. Walking among the walls, one notices the extraordinary craftsmanship. The stones are not randomly shaped. Each edge, each angle, seems deliberately designed to transfer weight and resist movement. The walls appear almost impervious to seismic activity, a testament to empirical knowledge of physics and construction. How did the builders, on a small and isolated island with limited resources, achieve such precision? What techniques, lost to time, allowed them to quarry, transport, and perfectly position these massive stones? The answers remain elusive, leaving room for both awe and speculation. Vinapuu's placement is equally enigmatic. Positioned on a slightly elevated plateau, the site overlooks fertile plains and the surrounding volcanic terrain. Some researchers note alignments with solar and lunar events, suggesting potential astronomical or ceremonial functions. Could Vinapuu have been a site of ritual significance, designed to align with the cycles of the sun, the moon, or the stars? Or was it primarily defensive, a fortress-like construction meant to assert control over territory in an isolated environment? The evidence offers tantalizing hints, but no definitive answers. The labor required to construct Vinapuu is staggering. The basalt blocks, some weighing multiple tons, had to be quarried, shaped, and moved without the aid of modern tools or draft animals. Oral traditions and archaeological evidence suggest that the islanders employed sophisticated techniques, perhaps using wooden sledges, ropes, and sheer manpower to manipulate these enormous stones. Yet, even accounting for ingenuity and communal effort, the precision achieved remains extraordinary. What social, religious, or cultural imperatives could have motivated such immense labor? What knowledge guided the hands of the builders? Vinapuu's similarity to other megalithic sites worldwide raises further questions. The polygonal masonry recalls Incan stonework, prompting speculation about ancient knowledge shared across great distances. While mainstream archaeology remains cautious, acknowledging the possibility of independent invention, the parallels are striking. Both Vinapuu and Andean constructions display advanced understanding of geometry, stability, and aesthetics. Could there have been cultural or technological exchanges across vast oceans? Or does human ingenuity naturally converge upon certain solutions when confronted with similar challenges? The walls themselves tell subtle stories. At certain angles, the stones form patterns of interlocking shapes that seem almost musical in rhythm, as if designed to convey order or harmony. Some scholars speculate that the site may have had acoustic properties, allowing voices or instruments to resonate across the terraces during ceremonies. Others suggest symbolic meanings, representations of cosmology, social hierarchy, or spiritual principles embedded in the very fabric of the construction. Yet, much like the moai that dominate the island's cultural imagination, the true intent behind Vinapuu's design remains frustratingly elusive. Isolation amplifies the mystery. Easter Island, a speck of land in the vast Pacific, faced environmental challenges that would have made monumental construction extraordinarily difficult. Limited resources, deforestation, and soil erosion suggest that sustaining large-scale labor projects required careful organization and social cohesion. Vinapu stands not only as a technical achievement, but as a testament to a society capable of mobilizing and sustaining coordinated effort under harsh conditions. Its survival through centuries of exposure to the elements underscores both its resilience and the sophistication of its design. Fringe theories have long circulated around Vinapu and Rapa Nui in general. Some propose the site is evidence of trans-Pacific contact or lost civilizations, with knowledge exceeding that of recognized cultures. Others speculate about astronomical alignments or energetic properties of the stonework. While these ideas remain controversial, they persist in part because Vinapu, like many megalithic sites, challenges our conventional understanding of what was possible in the ancient world. The silence of the stones invites speculation, and the precision of the masonry demands respect. Standing on the terraces, one can almost feel the presence of those who labored here. The wind sweeps across the plateau, carrying the scent of volcanic soil and the distant ocean. Shadows cast by the stones shift as the sun arcs across the sky, highlighting subtle angles and curves that may have held significance for the builders. One cannot help but sense that every stone, every joint was placed with intention, a dialogue between human hands and the enduring landscape. Vinapu's story is unfinished. Its walls endure, yet the knowledge and purpose that guided their construction have largely vanished. The site invites contemplation and curiosity, urging us to consider not just the technical prowess of its builders, but the beliefs, social structures, and cultural imperatives that made such precision possible. What rituals were performed here? What astronomical or symbolic principles were encoded in the stone? And, perhaps most profoundly, what knowledge has been lost to time, leaving only the walls as testament to human ingenuity? In the end, Vinapu resists simple categorization. It is part fortress, part ceremonial platform, part architectural marvel, an enigma set against the Pacific sky. Like the other megalithic sites we have explored, it challenges our assumptions about prehistoric societies, their skills, and the scope of their vision. Its stones, interlocked with remarkable precision, are a dialogue across millennia, inviting us to ponder the limits of human capability. And so, as we step away from Vinapu, the questions remain. How did the people of Rapa Nui achieve such technical mastery in isolation? What knowledge guided their hands, and what purpose drove them to shape stone with such care? Vinapu stands as a monument not only to the ingenuity of its builders, but to the enduring mystery of human potential, a mystery that even today remains just beyond our reach. From the distant shores of Easter Island, where Vinapu's precise polygonal masonry rises against the Pacific sky, our journey takes us westward across continents and seas to the Iberian Peninsula. Here, in the rugged hills of Andalusia, lies one of Europe's most astonishing megalithic monuments, the Menga tumulus. Its sheer size and enigmatic construction have fascinated scholars, travelers, and mystics alike, challenging assumptions about the sophistication of Neolithic societies and the purposes that drove them to shape colossal stone chambers with such care. Menga is immediately striking in both scale and form. Approaching the site, one is first confronted by a gently sloping mound, its contours blending seamlessly with the surrounding landscape. Yet beneath this unassuming hill lies an interior chamber of extraordinary proportions. Measuring over 27 meters in length and nearly 6 meters in height, the chamber is roofed by massive limestone slabs, each carefully placed to span enormous distances without modern reinforcement. The stones themselves are awe-inspiring. Some weigh upwards of 180 tons, a quantity of mass that would challenge modern machinery, yet they were quarried, transported, and positioned by a society that left no written instructions, no machinery, only skill, imagination, and sheer determination. The tumulus sits within the Antikythera region, a landscape dotted with other megaliths, dolmens, and Neolithic settlements. But Menga stands apart, not only because of its monumental size, but because of its design. Unlike simple burial mounds, the interior passage does not merely shelter the dead. It appears to have been conceived as a space of ritual and reflection. The chamber's alignment is precise, its entrance oriented toward the summer solstice sunrise, suggesting an intentional relationship between stone, earth, and sky. Could Menga have functioned as a calendar, a temple, or both? Did the builders perceive the heavens as intimately connected to life and death, aligning their tombs to celestial rhythms as a way of bridging the temporal and the eternal? Archaeological study reveals traces of human activity that hint at both practical and ceremonial uses. Flint tools, pottery fragments, and traces of hearths suggest repeated visits over generations, while skeletal remains indicate burials, though not all chambers contain bodies. The scale and craftsmanship of Menga raise profound questions. How did Neolithic builders move stones of such immense size? How were they shaped, lifted, and balanced to form a roof spanning almost 6 meters without collapsing under their own weight? Some theories propose the use of earthen ramps, wooden rollers, and sheer manpower, yet even these explanations strain credulity when one considers the precise fitting of each slab and the stability achieved without mortar. The construction technique itself is remarkable. The walls of the chamber are composed of enormous vertical slabs, some of them irregular yet interlocking, forming a resilient frame that has withstood millennia of erosion, seismic activity, and human intrusion. The ceiling is created from horizontal capstones, carefully arranged to distribute weight evenly. Every joint, every angle, suggests an intimate knowledge of physics and engineering, knowledge that appears astonishing for a society long considered primitive by modern standards. Menga forces us to reconsider the capabilities of Neolithic peoples, not merely as farmers or toolmakers, but as engineers, planners, and perhaps as thinkers deeply attuned to the forces of nature. Beyond engineering, Menga presents mysteries that remain unresolved. Its orientation, while solstitial, does not align perfectly with the surrounding landscape in a way that fully explains its placement. Nearby monuments, including the Dolmen de Vieira and Tholos de el Romeral, suggest a larger ceremonial complex, yet the relationships between these sites, their chronological order, and their cultural purpose are only partially understood. Some researchers have speculated that Menga's design encodes astronomical knowledge, or that the builders intended to create acoustic effects within the chamber, enhancing chants, prayers, or communal rituals. Others point to symbolic geometry, noting that the elongated rectangular chamber and its precise alignment might mirror cosmological or spiritual concepts lost to the millennia but preserved in stone. The stones themselves evoke wonder and speculation. Many are sourced from quarries located several kilometers away, requiring not only the technical knowledge to transport massive slabs, but also social organization and labor management. How was such monumental labor coordinated? What beliefs, fears, or reverence for the dead could have inspired entire communities to dedicate months, perhaps years, to raising these silent monuments? Each stone is a testament not only to practical skill, but to the cognitive and social sophistication of its makers. Menga, in this sense, is both an artifact and an argument, a statement of what humans can achieve when vision, cooperation, and belief intersect. Some scholars have drawn comparisons to other megalithic sites across Europe and the Mediterranean. Similarities in construction methods and design appear at sites such as Malta's Tarxian temples, the Clava cairns in Scotland, and Sardinia's Monte da Codi. While direct connections remain speculative, the recurrence of polygonal and massive stone constructions suggests either parallel evolution of architectural solutions or perhaps shared knowledge that has yet to be uncovered. Menga stands at the heart of this conversation, a European counterpart to distant marvels in South America the Pacific, and the Middle East. Proof that prehistoric humans, across continents, were capable of monumental creativity and sophisticated engineering. Entering the chamber is an almost sacred experience. The air is cooler, denser, carrying the echoes of countless footsteps across centuries. Sunlight filters through the entrance at the summer solstice, illuminating the interior in a fleeting, otherworldly display. The walls seem to pulse with memory, as if the stones themselves retain the presence of the hands that carved them, the breath of the builders, and the solemnity of the rituals performed within. One cannot help but feel both humbled and unsettled. Menga does not yield its secrets easily. Instead, it provokes questions, inviting us to wonder about the minds and intentions of people whose lives are otherwise lost to history. Yet, much about Menga remains shrouded. Archaeological evidence provides fragments, a burial here, a tool there, but no comprehensive narrative. The scale, the precision, and the orientation defy easy explanation. Was Menga primarily a tomb, a temple, a solar observatory, or a combination of all three? Were there beliefs encoded in its design? Philosophies of life and death? Cosmologies written not in words but in stone? The silence of the tumulus speaks louder than any theory. It challenges our assumptions about the Neolithic world and demands that we acknowledge the limits of our understanding. The mystery is compounded by time itself. Erosion, human interference, and natural decay have altered the monument, yet it endures with remarkable resilience. The stones, some dislodged, many perfectly intact, continue to bear witness to the labor, ingenuity, and devotion that created them. They remind us that knowledge is often material, encoded in form, texture, and alignment, surviving long after oral traditions, records, and memory have vanished. Menga Tumulus, in its quiet grandeur, stands as a bridge between past and present. It is a monument not merely to the dead, but to human possibility, a demonstration that long before written history, people on this peninsula conceived, organized, and executed architectural feats that continue to defy easy explanation. It is both ancient and timeless, local and universal, a site that challenges the modern observer to reconsider what humans, even without modern technology, are capable of achieving. And so, as we step away from Menga, questions linger like shadows along the walls. What rituals unfolded here under starlit skies? How did the builders move such enormous stones without the aid of machinery? What knowledge guided their hands and their vision? Menga remains unfinished in the sense that its true purpose, its full meaning, and its deepest secrets remain just beyond our grasp. In this silence, in this grandeur, Menga reminds us that history is not merely a record of the past, but a dialogue with it. The tumulus, with its stones, its alignment, and its sheer ambition, calls across millennia, inviting us to listen, to wonder, and to recognize that the impossible achievements of ancient humans continue to challenge, inspire, and confound us today. From the sunlit fields of Andalusia and the monumental shadow of Menga, our journey now carries us northward, to the windswept coasts of Brittany, France. Here at Lac Mariaquer, a landscape of undulating grasslands meets the jagged Atlantic shore, and scattered across this terrain are some of the most enigmatic and colossal megaliths in Europe. These stones, weathered by millennia of wind and rain, tell stories that exceed the simple act of construction. They speak of ambition, ritual, and knowledge that challenges conventional timelines. The first impression of Lac Mariaquer is one of awe. Towering slabs, some weighing over 300 tons, lie partly buried or upright, their surfaces etched by the passage of time and, perhaps, by human hands. Known collectively as the Lac Mariaquer megaliths, this site encompasses multiple monuments: the broken yet monumental Grand Menhir Brisé, the Table des Marchands, and the Dolmen der Gra, among others. Each structure appears as if deliberately positioned to create a dialogue with the land, the sky, and one another, forming a complex megalithic network that continues to defy precise interpretation. The Grand Menhir Brise is perhaps the most arresting. Once standing upright, this colossal stone is now fractured into 4 massive pieces scattered across the landscape. Originally estimated to have measured over 20 meters in length and weighing hundreds of tons, the menhir's sheer size poses immediate questions. How did Neolithic builders quarry, transport, and erect such a monolith without modern tools or technology? Even the most carefully constructed ramps, levers, and sledges seem almost insufficient for a task of this magnitude. And yet, the stone was not only moved, it was shaped, balanced, and placed with an apparent understanding of geometry and structural integrity. The question lingers: what compelled the builders to undertake such an extraordinary feat? Nearby lies the Table des Marchands, a dolmen consisting of massive upright stones capped with horizontal slabs, forming an interior chamber that evokes both sacred and ceremonial purpose. Carvings on the ceiling and walls hint at symbolic or ritual significance, though their meaning remains elusive. Lines, spirals, and abstract forms invite speculation. Are these decorations purely artistic, or do they encode cosmological, spiritual, or astronomical knowledge? The chamber itself is carefully oriented, aligned with the rising sun at certain times of the year, suggesting that the builder's understanding of celestial mechanics may have been far more advanced than previously assumed. The Dolmen der Gra, smaller yet no less intriguing, is composed of carefully fitted granite stones, forming a passage chamber whose proportions and orientation seem calculated to interact with both the sun and the surrounding terrain. As one walks the passage, it becomes apparent that these monuments were not haphazardly erected. Every stone, every alignment, appears to serve a purpose, whether symbolic, ceremonial, or functional, that remains hidden beneath layers of time. Lokmariakwar's complexity deepens when one considers the broader context. Brittany is rich in megalithic sites. Alignments, dolmens, and menhirs are scattered across the region, forming networks that may have functioned as ritual landscapes. Scholars suggest that Lokmariakar was part of a larger Neolithic ceremonial complex where social, spiritual, and possibly political functions intertwined. The scale and sophistication of these constructions imply an organized society capable of mobilizing resources, coordinating labor, and preserving knowledge over generations. How such societies achieved this without writing or metal tools remains a profound mystery. Archaeological investigations have yielded fragments of pottery, stone tools, and traces of human remains, but much of the original context is lost. The Grand Menhir Brise's fall, likely the result of an earthquake, deliberate felling, or other unknown factors, obscures its original function and significance. Yet, even in ruin, the menhir exerts a formidable presence, a testament to both the ambition and ingenuity of its creators. Was it a territorial marker, a ceremonial focal point, or part of a larger cosmological map? Perhaps it was all of these, and more, a physical embodiment of ideas that have long since vanished from memory. The precision of the stonework at Lokmariakar invites deeper reflection. The dolmens and menhirs are not merely piled rocks. They are carefully shaped, balanced, and interlocked. This requires an understanding of leverage, load distribution, and long-term stability. How was this knowledge acquired? Was it trial and error, observation over generations, or an inherited technical tradition? And what knowledge, lost to time, guided the placement of stones in alignment with solar events, terrain features, or even other megaliths across the region? Speculative theories abound. Some researchers propose that the site's orientation and layout indicate advanced astronomical observation, possibly functioning as a calendar or celestial observatory. Others suggest acoustic or energetic properties, proposing that rituals performed within the dolmens might have been enhanced by the resonance of stone. More radical interpretations posit connections to other megalithic cultures across Europe and beyond, hinting at either shared knowledge or parallel development of monumental construction techniques. While these ideas remain contentious, they underscore the profound impression Lokmariakwer leaves upon those who study it. Walking among the stones, one senses a continuity of purpose and reverence. The weathered surfaces, etched with faint marks of human hands, speak to repeated interaction over centuries. Sunlight shifts across the stones throughout the day and year, casting shadows that animate the ancient landscape. In these moments, it becomes clear that the site was designed not only to endure, but to engage, to connect human activity with the forces of nature and the cosmos. It is a dialogue in stone that continues, whispering secrets to those who pause and listen. Yet, despite centuries of study, Lokmariakwer retains its mysteries. Why were certain stones chosen and others left untouched? How did Neolithic engineers measure, transport, and raise these enormous monoliths with such precision? What cultural, spiritual, or practical imperatives motivated these labors, demanding cohesion, labor, and vision from entire communities? And perhaps most compelling, what knowledge, insight, or worldview has been lost entirely, leaving only the silent testimony of granite and dolmen? In standing among the Lokmariakwer megaliths, one cannot escape a profound sense of humility. These stones are not merely remnants of the past, they are a challenge to the present. They remind us that human ingenuity and vision have deep roots, that societies long predating recorded history possessed capabilities and aspirations that we are only beginning to understand. They are monuments to labor, belief, and imagination, reaching across millennia to speak to us still. As the Atlantic wind sweeps over the Breton coast, carrying the salt and scent of distant seas, the stones of Lokmariakwer remain steadfast, absorbing centuries of storms and sun. Their silence is deliberate, their endurance a testament to intention. We may walk among them, measure, study, and speculate, but the full story, the thoughts, beliefs, and hands that raised these giants remains tantalizingly beyond reach. The site does not yield its secrets easily. It invites reflection, inquiry, and wonder. Perhaps this is the enduring lesson of Lokmariakwer, that history, especially the history written in stone, is not only a record, but a riddle. The stones themselves are the question, and we, the observers, must find our own way to interpret, to imagine, and to wonder. Across the centuries, the Lokmariakwer megaliths continue to challenge our assumptions, beckon our curiosity, and remind us that some of the most profound human achievements are those that resist easy explanation, standing timeless and enigmatic against the horizon. From the windswept hills of the Upper Galilee, where the soil is dark and scattered with fragments of ancient stone, there rises a structure that has puzzled travelers and scholars alike for centuries. Known locally as Rujm el-Malfuf, the Twisted Mound, this enigmatic megalithic formation lies nestled among rolling terraces and the remnants of olive groves that have witnessed millennia pass. At first glance, it may appear as nothing more than a chaotic jumble of basalt and limestone, but a closer inspection reveals a pattern, a deliberate, almost ceremonial arrangement that speaks of intention far beyond mere accumulation of rocks. Stretching across a modest hilltop, Rujm el-Malfuf is composed of concentric stone circles, irregular walls, and scattered standing stones that form a labyrinthine design. Unlike other monumental sites such as Rujm el-Hiri, whose concentric rings convey a celestial symmetry, the stones here are twisted, offset, and seem to spiral outward as if following a hidden logic that remains invisible to the modern eye. Some boulders weigh several tons, yet they have been arranged with meticulous care, suggesting a sophisticated understanding of both geometry and construction methods unknown to the early inhabitants of this region. The origin of Rujm el-Malfuf is shrouded in mystery. Archaeologists place its creation tentatively within the late Chalcolithic period, roughly 4,000 to 5,000 years ago, citing the style of stone placement and proximity to other prehistoric sites. Yet, the lack of artifacts, inscriptions, or burial evidence challenges conventional interpretations. Was it a ceremonial center, a place of gathering for a society whose structures have otherwise vanished, or an astronomical observatory marking solstices and equinoxes with its twisted alignments? The questions multiply as one traces the circles by foot, noting subtle openings, passageways, and terraces that catch the light of the rising sun in peculiar ways. Local folklore has long whispered of Rujm el-Malfuf as a site of otherworldly power. The name itself, Twisted Mound, evokes the possibility that the structure embodies some ancient knowledge now lost. Some traditions link the site to the Rephaim, the giants of biblical memory, suggesting that the massive stones may be remnants of a civilization whose capabilities far exceeded those of ordinary human labor. Could the arrangement of the stones encode knowledge, a map, or perhaps a ritual path? Modern researchers remain cautious, yet the site's unusual geometry invites speculation about hidden purposes. Scientific investigation has revealed the careful selection of materials. Basalt boulders, sourced from local quarries, were deliberately chosen for their durability and size. The sheer effort required to transport these stones, without metal tools or draft animals, raises questions about the social organization and cultural priorities of the builders. Some stones are positioned with subtle interlocking techniques that have allowed them to endure millennia of seismic activity, rain, and wind. The precision is remarkable, especially given the apparent absence of written plans or architectural guidelines. Equally puzzling is the site's orientation. Observers have noted that certain stone alignments correspond with celestial events. At particular times of the year, shadows stretch along specific paths, illuminating otherwise hidden chambers or circles. Whether intentional or coincidental, these alignments suggest a deeper understanding of the heavens and their cycles. Could the builders of Rujm el-Malfuf have been early astronomers, mapping the sky with stones rather than ink? Or were these alignments purely symbolic, designed to invoke the presence of cosmic forces during rituals? Some theories suggest that Rujm el-Malfuf was part of a wider network of megalithic sites across the Levant. From Rujm el-Hiri to Gilgal Rephaim, concentric stone structures appear repeatedly, hinting at shared cultural or religious practices. Yet, the twisted and irregular pattern of this mound sets it apart. Where other sites exhibit symmetry and apparent mathematical precision, Rujm el-Malfuf challenges observers to reconsider assumptions about order and meaning in prehistoric constructions. Its irregularity may itself be a form of knowledge, a coded message or ritual path intended to guide the participant in a journey that is both physical and spiritual. Modern technology has offered glimpses into what lies beneath the stones. Ground-penetrating radar has revealed voids and chambers hidden beneath layers of boulders, some large enough to suggest ritual use or gatherings. The absence of human remains complicates interpretation. Were these chambers symbolic, designed for ceremonies involving light, sound, or reflection? Or did they serve purposes now lost to history, perhaps as shelters, storage, or even acoustic chambers designed to amplify chants and music in ways we cannot fully comprehend? Visitors to Rujm el-Malfuf often describe a profound sense of dislocation, as if stepping into a landscape where time itself is layered and malleable. The twisted circles of stone guide the eye upward to the horizon, blending the terrestrial and celestial planes. One feels the weight of human effort, the echoes of countless generations whose lives have vanished without leaving a conventional trace. In the quiet of the hilltop, it is possible to imagine the rituals, the ceremonies, and the intentions of the builders, though their precise meaning remains elusive. Speculative interpretations abound. Some researchers propose that the site could be an early form of a map, aligning with subterranean water sources or marking sacred geographic features. Others suggest that acoustic properties embedded within the stone circles may have played a role in sound-based ceremonies, creating effects that amplified voices or vibrations. Fringe theories even propose that Rujm el-Malfuf predates the known Chalcolithic timeline, representing remnants of a lost civilization with knowledge of astronomy, engineering, and ritual practices far beyond what conventional archaeology currently attributes to the region. Yet for all its enigmas, Rujm el-Malfuf remains grounded in the landscape. Unlike the colossal monuments of Egypt or the Andes, it integrates seamlessly with its surroundings, rising subtly from the earth rather than dominating it. Its power is quiet, intimate, and mysterious. To walk its twisted paths is to engage in a dialogue across millennia, to sense the intentions of those who arranged these stones with care and purpose, and to confront the limits of our understanding. What did the builders of Rujm el-Malfuf hope to achieve? Were they marking time, recording celestial events, or enacting ceremonies lost to memory? Or did the stones themselves hold significance beyond human comprehension, chosen and placed as guardians of a secret, a mystery intended to endure long after the culture that created it had vanished? As sunlight shifts across the twisted circles, casting ever-changing shadows, one is reminded that Rujm el-Malfuf is not merely a ruin, but a riddle. Its stones, heavy and deliberate, whisper a language we can scarcely interpret. They challenge us to see beyond conventional categories, to consider that human history may be far richer, stranger, and more complex than our textbooks suggest. In the heart of the Galilee Hills, Rujm el-Malfuf stands as a silent witness to a past that continues to defy explanation. Its twisted stones urge us to question, to observe, and to imagine. And perhaps that is the true power of the site, not in what we know, but in the vast, uncharted territory of what we have yet to understand. From the misty valleys of the Soup River, where the desert meets the fertile ribbon of water, rises a city unlike any other in the ancient Americas. Carrowkeel, often called the cradle of civilization in the New World, stretches across the arid plains of Peru in a series of monumental pyramids, plazas, and sunken circular courts. Viewed from a distance, the complex resembles an oasis of order carved from the shifting sands, its terraces and platforms rising like echoes of some immense, forgotten design. Here at Carrowkeel, the boundaries between natural landscape and human ingenuity blur, as if the city itself were grown rather than built. Walking through the site today, one is struck by the scale and sophistication of these structures. The largest pyramid, Qenqo, towers above the plain, its carefully layered stones forming steps that climb toward the sky. Surrounding it, smaller pyramids and rectangular platforms align with plazas, residential zones, and ceremonial centers, forming a pattern that seems both intentional and enigmatic. Unlike the stone megaliths of other ancient sites, the constructions at Carrowkeel are primarily of quarried stone, adobe, and mortar, a deliberate choice that has allowed them to endure for more than 5,000 years in the harsh coastal climate. Scholars date Carrowkeel to around 2600 BCE, making it contemporaneous with the earliest civilizations of Mesopotamia and Egypt. Yet, unlike those more famous cities, Carrowkeel seems to have emerged without the wheel, without metal tools, and without a written language. How did a society with such apparent technological limitations conceive of and execute a city of this magnitude? The very layout of Carrowkeel suggests a deep understanding of urban planning and social organization. Wide plazas for communal activity, sunken circular courts that may have hosted ritual performances, and pyramidal platforms designed with both practical and symbolic purpose. The purpose of Carrowkeel remains a subject of debate. Archaeologists have uncovered musical instruments, intricately carved flutes, and evidence of complex trade networks, pointing to a society that valued art, ceremony, and connection as much as survival. At the same time, no evidence of defensive walls or military fortifications has been found, implying that the builders of Carrowkeel did not rely on conquest to maintain their city. Could the true strength of Carrowkeel have lain in social cohesion, spirituality, and the ability to harness human labor for monumental works? Or did the city conceal secrets lost to time, its pyramids and platforms acting as repositories of knowledge and ritual that modern eyes can scarcely comprehend? One of the most striking features of Carrowkeel is its architectural sophistication. The pyramids and platforms are oriented in a deliberate manner, aligning with solstices and other celestial events. During the summer solstice, sunlight filters into specific plazas and platforms in a way that illuminates their stone surfaces, suggesting a symbolic or calendrical purpose. Was this an early astronomical observatory, a tool to mark time and guide agricultural cycles, or was the alignment primarily spiritual, designed to honor the sun, the river, and the fertile plains? The answer remains tantalizingly out of reach, hidden in the interplay of shadow and stone. Equally compelling is the evidence of urban sophistication and planning. Streets, stairways, and terraces interconnect the pyramids with residential areas, suggesting that Carrowkeel's inhabitants had not only architectural knowledge, but also social foresight. The city was designed to function as an integrated whole, where plazas and courts facilitated communal life, and the careful arrangement of pyramids created a visual and spiritual hierarchy. Walking among these ancient stones, one cannot help but feel the echoes of a civilization that understood balance, rhythm, and proportion in ways that remain impressive even by today's standards. Yet, much about Carrowkeel defies explanation. Unlike other monumental sites in the ancient world, no evidence of warfare or fortifications has been uncovered, and skeletal remains suggest a population that lived relatively peacefully. How then did the society organize the labor necessary to construct pyramids of such scale and precision? Was there a centralized authority, a priestly class, or a system of communal cooperation that has vanished from the record? Some speculate that the city's power lay in ideology and ritual, rather than coercion, making Carrowkeel an early testament to the capacity of belief to shape the physical world. Speculative theories about Carrowkeel abound. Some propose that the city served as a center for astronomical and spiritual knowledge, a place where observation of the heavens was integrated with ritual practice and urban planning. Others suggest that the pyramids themselves may have had acoustic or energetic purposes, designed to amplify sound or align with subterranean water flows. Fringe hypotheses even hint at connections between Carrowkeel and other ancient civilizations across the globe, suggesting that its architectural principles may reflect a shared human intuition for scale, geometry, and sacred space. While these ideas remain contentious, they underscore the mystery that continues to envelop this city. Carrowkeel's survival in the harsh coastal environment is also remarkable. Situated in a desert valley, the city thrived for centuries, sustained by irrigation systems, trade networks, and careful stewardship of resources. Evidence of cultivated cotton, guava, and other crops demonstrates the society's ingenuity in agriculture and resource management. Yet, despite this apparent stability, Carrowkeel eventually declined, its terraces and pyramids left to the wind and sun. What caused the collapse of such an advanced urban center? Environmental change, shifts in trade, or internal social dynamics may all have played a role, but no single explanation fully accounts for the city's sudden abandonment. Visiting Carrowkeel today, one is struck by its timelessness. The pyramids rise against a backdrop of arid hills and winding rivers, their lines and shadows evoking both grandeur and fragility. Standing in a sunken circular court, the visitor can almost hear the distant echoes of music, ceremony, and life. A society that celebrated creativity, collaboration, and understanding of both the earth and the heavens. Every stone seems to carry the weight of human intention. Every terrace whispers of gatherings long past. And yet, for all its revelations, Carrowkeel retains its mysteries. Were the pyramids merely platforms for communal and ritual activity, or did they encode knowledge now lost to memory? Did the city function as a hub for spiritual enlightenment, agricultural mastery, or astronomical observation? Or is its true purpose something we cannot yet imagine, a testament to the ingenuity and vision of a civilization whose story has only partially survived? As the wind sweeps across the Soup Valley, tracing the contours of pyramids, plazas, and terraces, one is reminded that Carrowkeel is more than an archaeological site. It is a riddle written in earth and stone. Its endurance challenges our understanding of early human civilization, suggesting that even in the distant past, societies were capable of remarkable achievement, creativity, and foresight. And perhaps the greatest mystery of all is not how Carrowkeel was built, but why it continues to speak to us across millennia, inviting us to wonder, to explore, and to imagine the depth of human potential. In the shadow of its pyramids, Carrowkeel stands not only as a testament to the past, but also as an enduring enigma, one that urges us to remember that history, in all its grandeur and complexity, is never truly complete. Its terraces, pyramids, and sunken courts whisper a challenge to the modern observer, to look, to question, and to consider that even in a world we believe we understand, some mysteries remain defiantly beyond our reach.